This year, Ramadan coincides with the 70th anniversary of relations between the United States and Indonesia. Throughout the year, we are highlighting places, stories, and dreams that showcase our broad partnership with Indonesia. Our nations have much in common. Both Americans and Indonesians celebrate our shared values like religious freedom and respect for tolerance and diversity. As Muslims in America and Indonesia gather with their family and friends to break fast every day, they also showcase the rich ethnic and religious diversity reflected in our vibrant democracies. On behalf of all Americans, I wish all Indonesians a peaceful and a blessed Ramadan. Selamat berpuasa.
Wow, sudah ramai semua. Selamat siang, apa kabar semuanya? Oke, boleh kita beri tepuk tangan terlebih dahulu untuk memulai acara pada siang hari ini. Good afternoon everyone, our distinguished guests, all the students. Welcome to At America, an American center where we can explore experience and express about the United States, and you can share your ideas, your thoughts about America through our event. Before we start this wonderful event, here are the upcoming events into At America. Wow, so we're going to have a Stanley Marvelous Movie Festival. For those of you who still don't know where you want to go during a long holiday, you can come on to At America for the film festival, starting from May 30 until 3rd of June, 2019, of course. And the next, what we have, film screening and gathering together with Indonesian Marvel community. You can come on June 3rd, Monday from 2:30 until 6 p.m. And another facilities that I do believe you guys know is about Education USA. So if you have any questions about how to study in US and how to get a scholarship, you can come every day from 1 to 9 p.m. Except on Saturday, we'll be open more earlier, starting from 10 until 9 p.m. Again and again, it's a free consultation with Vina and Santika, Education USA. At America has been here since December 2010. We have held over than 3,500 events, but the question is how to get an updated schedule events into At America. It's very simple. You just go to our website, www.atamerica.or.id, put your name and email address, and we'll give you our updated schedule event through your email once a week. Again and again, it's a free lifetime membership. For those of you who still like tweeting, who still like playing Twitter, don't forget for using to the hashtag At America, and your tweet will directly appear onto our tweet wall on the right side. Okay? Before we start this wonderful event, this wonderful moment, please welcome for the opening remarks, Bradley Horn, Regional English Language Officer, Acting Cultural Attache, U.S. Embassy, Jakarta.
Thank you all very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is both an honor and a great pleasure to be here this afternoon, and I am thrilled to see so many accepted students, so many prospective students, and so many moms and dads. So thank you for coming out. You know, well, I'm getting older now, but I feel like it wasn't so long ago that I was in your shoes. When I was getting ready to go away to university myself. I am getting older, so actually I've done it now a couple of times. When I first went to university, I went sight unseen. I hadn't visited the campus that I went to as an undergrad. I went to New York University for my undergraduate degree. Had never been there before. And I was filled with a great deal of nervousness and trepidation. And it turns out my parents were too. My mother later admitted to me that when they dropped me off at university, when they drove away, she cried until they reached New Jersey, basically, because she was saying goodbye to her baby boy. And so I think maybe the students who are with us today might have a lot of questions and a bit of nervousness, but maybe the moms and dads do too. I did it again to myself, though, later in life when I had been working. I was a professional for a while. I had been actually as a teacher overseas. And then I went back to the US to do my doctorate. And I did the same thing again. I went to a university, never having visited the university before, with not a lot of knowledge about the culture of the institution that I went to. I'd been working, as I said, as a teacher. I showed up on the first day of the new graduate student orientation wearing a suit and tie. I also showed up very, very early because the Americans were supposed to be punctual, right? Well, it turns out at the university that I did my doctorate at, which is called Northern Arizona University, there's a bit more laid-back culture, right? So people actually show up a little bit later there than in other parts of the United States. And I was the first one at the room that we were supposed to meet in. And when the next student came, the second student came, she looked at me and she said, "Oh, are you from the president's office?" Because guess what? I was the only guy in a suit the entire day. And I didn't know that at that university, people would be very laid back and very, very relaxed. And of course, the attire and everything, these are the things you learn. Now, how many parents are alumni of US universities? How many parents went to US universities? Okay, we've got a couple. We got a couple in the audience. So that you can give some advice, but a lot of people, I think, may have some questions about what to expect. And that's what we're here to do today, is answer a lot of those questions, because it's a big leap, even when you're from the country. Now, I have to say, we are very grateful for all of you. Now, a part of the experience for all of us in the US is having international students in the classroom. You enrich the experience for all of us, okay? This year, 2019, marks the 70th anniversary of relations between the United States and Indonesia. And our slogan is celebrating diversity, partnership, and prosperity. The diversity part is extremely important in the higher educational setting in the United States. And the international students that come to study with us make our universities all the greater for their presence. I remember, again, I came from a small town in the middle of the US and then went to New York. That was some of my first exposures to international students, were in my classes at New York University. I was so naive that I didn't even realize some of the students weren't from the United States. And being in the classroom with my international peers actually opened my eyes. And here I am today as a representative of the United States government, and to a large part, I credit my international classmates for opening my eyes to the rest of the world. Now, you are going to meet naive Americans who might not be able to find Indonesia on a map. Believe it or not, some of us are that naive. The rumors on that are true. But you will still be welcome by those people, and they will see you as somebody that they can learn from as well. So this is the greatest thing about, perhaps one of the greatest things about this sort of educational exchange. It is an opportunity for both of our peoples to learn from each other. And you, as students, are going to be those sort of citizen diplomats for Indonesia to teach young Americans about your country as you learn in our country. Now, I did notice, I looked on the list of the name cards outside, and I saw some great universities represented there. I saw a lot of universities in the northern part of the US, and I'm a little bit nervous for those kids. Because you know what? You're going to experience winter for the first time, and you're going to experience something that you never imagined possible, the cold, right? The cold I think I saw a couple of people going to University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, somebody going to Minnesota, somebody going to Michigan. Get ready, guys. Just get ready, because you can't imagine how cold it's going to be, okay? You see, I wear a beard. That's because I'm still cold from the winters. When the ice finally thawed, I didn't want to get rid of it because I can't imagine. So yeah, get ready. So many things that you're going to experience, and you will come back that much more richer for that experience, even if you're still going to be a little bit cold afterwards. I think my time may be up. He almost jumped up to come pull me off the stage. But I'm going to stick around today because I want to be here to answer questions that any of you may have. But again, thank you all very much for coming out. Thank you for choosing to send your children, your sons and daughters, to the United States for education, for their higher education. Thank you, sons and daughters, for choosing schools in the United States. I'm sure you're going to have an awesome experience, and we look forward to welcoming you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bradley Horn, as a Regional English Language Officer, Acting Cultural Attache, U.S. Embassy. Now, let's begin the event. Please welcome Vina Alatas, Education USA America Advisor.
Thank you so much, Edo. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for coming out. If you've been to Education USA before, meet me. You heard me talking about how excited I am about this event, and finally it's here because we only have this event once a year. And gak ada lagi yang bisa ngalahin senengnya kita ngelihat kalian-kalian yang pakai name tag. So can we actually get a round of applause for you guys for going to the US very, very soon. Okay, my name is Vina. I'm one of the EducationUSA Advisors here at America. Bagi kalian yang belum berangkat, if you're not going to the US yet, also welcome. If this is your first time, I will talk just a little bit about EducationUSA. But before that, I would actually like to say hi to Medan. Medan, EducationUSA in Medan, actually watching us online right now, as well as the EducationUSA Makassar. EducationUSA Medan will join us for the discussion later on. So kalau kalian ngelihat invitation dari kita, you basically see that the agenda is pretty long. So we have a lot of presentation to talk about, but we guarantee you all the information today is very, very informative. So please, if you can actually stay until the end of the event, you're gonna learn a lot from today's session. We're gonna have a break, 30 minutes break from 3:10 for those of you who need to take a asar break or just a simply short break. And then we're going to start again talking about the visa session. Definitely something that you guys don't want to miss because we will have someone from the visa Consul talking about how to apply for the student visa if you haven't done so, and if you already have your visa, how to maintain the visa as an international student. And then after that, we're going to follow up with the discussion and Q&A. So all the panelists, they're going to talk, giving a presentation today until before 3. Will join us again after the ASAR break, after the visa session. So we're not going to take any questions for the presentation from now until before the break. So if you have some questions, please feel free to hold on to that until we start the discussion and Q&A. Okay? So, and then also don't forget, we're going to do the buka puasa bersama later on for the iftar gathering. And I hope you guys are already hungry by then. So we have a lot of foods standing by later on. And all right, so today we're basically going to cover pretty much like a lot of things, but very informative for those of you who are living to the States. We're going to talk about adjusting to life in America. We already have a number of alumni with us in the room. We already have a visit from the Ohio State University, who will also talk about the campus life and academic expectation. We're going to also talk about housing, transportation, how to open a bank account, the first few things that you need to do when you get to the US. So let's begin with, what is EducationUSA, right? You are here, you just heard about this pre-departure orientation, but you don't know anything about EducationUSA. So we are basically part of the US Department of State. We have over 400 international students advising centers in more than 170 countries. So don't worry, we're not only in Indonesia, but basically all over the world. Basically what we do is we provide unbiased and accurate information for anybody, literally anybody who wants to study in the US, undergrad, master's, PhD. In Indonesia, of course, not only here at America, but we have 8 centers with 10 advisors. So there are 2 here in Jakarta. We got also 2 in Surabaya. We have Medan, who is actually watching us online as well. We got 1 in Malang, Makassar, and Banda Aceh. So in Jakarta, we have here at American and at the US Embassy. So there are also 2 advisors at the US Embassy, but you have to make an appointment 24 hours before to gain an access to be at the US Embassy. So a lot of people some of you guys prefer to come to America because we open every day. You don't have to make any appointment. Our office hours is also a bit unique. I would say this is the only center in the world that have this office hours because we open every day. We start from 1 until 9 p.m. So we don't usually do the office hours from 8 to 5, but even, if you are here, if you're around at like 7 p.m. and you've being fancy, wanting to know more about studying in the US, feel free to stop by to America. All right, so the services that we offer, first of all, is free because our main goals here is for you guys to study in the US, all right? So we start with step 1, researching your options. So let's say you are still thinking about studying in the US, but you don't know where to start, you don't know where to go. Come here, let's sit down together, let's have a chat, all right? Let's talk about some of the options for you to study in the US as an international student. And then financing your studies, because it's equally important, because there are a lot of funding options out there. Full scholarship from the government, Indonesian government, US government, full scholarship, partial scholarship from your employer, possibly. And don't forget about the scholarship offered by the universities. So we're going to talk about that as well. And then completing your application, definitely my favorite. We can basically help you so many things. We can take a look at your essay, we can take a look at your resume. If you have questions about tips to do the TOEFL or tips to, the prep for taking the GRE. What are the difference between GRE and GMAT, ACT or SAT, right? So those kind of questions we'll be able to, happy to share with you the information on that. And then of course, after that, you submit your application and then a couple of weeks, a couple of months after that, you get back to us and you say, Fina, I got accepted. So this is basically what happened just a couple of months ago. Past of our advisors, definitely some of you are here contacting me and saying, Fina, got accepted to this university. Great, congratulations. We're moving on to how to apply for a student visa. We're guiding you step by step on how to apply for the student visa because it's actually not as complicated. It's not as scary as a lot of people thought, right? So for example, like not a lot of people know that every Monday, the U.S. the embassy team actually have a slot specifically for those who want to study in the U.S. using the student visa, right? So those kind of information that we like to share with you guys. And then of course, step number 5, I know it looks like this is the last step, but I don't want to stop on step 5 because although now you're living to the US, when you're in the US, I would like you to join us as well from the US if you're interested in joining our events. So a lot of our upcoming events at America is very interactive. So we want to have someone who are in the US having talked to us via Skype. So if you're interested, just let me know later on and I would like to put you on our list for that. So if you want to keep updated with our upcoming events, feel free to go to adamerica.or.id/en/EducationUSA or simply go to EducationUSA website. You can take a look at our upcoming events, not only at America, but for all other EducationUSA centers in Indonesia and all over the world as well. Okay, so there are 2 advisors here at America. So my name is Fina, my colleague Santika is outside. We available every day from 1 to 9, except for Saturday. So for example, like today, we actually open from 10 a.m. until 9 p.m. So if you're being fancy, waking up early in the morning on a Saturday and wanting to know how to study in the US, we are actually here since 10 a.m. All right, so real quick, I would also like to introduce you with one of our programs called EducationUSA Indonesia Targeted Advising Group. We started it in 2015 with mentorship program, but we changed our name just last year to Targeted Advising Group. Basically, it's a platform where you, as a prospective students, will work intensively with the advisors, with me, and we will try our best to match you with either a current student or alumni with the same program. Or if we can match you with not only with the same program, but with also the same university, then we're going to do that. So the reasons why you should join this event is, again, because one, it's free, and second one is because we have over 400 alumni on our database, and basically those of you who are actually leaving to the US, you guys are going to be soon to be alumni. So we will invite you to join our alumni network as well, so then in the future, or maybe when you're still studying, you can help the prospective students who want to study in the US to also, reach their dream as well. So who are we looking for? Basically everybody. Everybody who wants to study in the US, and you guys need some extra guidance intensively from us. So we'll be happy to help you on that. If you're interested, we just need we just need you to fill in the form. We just need to learn a little bit about yourself. So you can go to bit.do/educationUSA or email @educationusa.or.id, or I'll be happy to talk more about that during the break or after the event. All right, so are we ready? Yes, for those of you who are leaving soon, I'm going to talk about topic number 1, which is the pre-departure planning. So first thing first, make a checklist. So packing and before leaving. If this is going to be your first time in the US, you may want to have the TSA accepted locks. Jadi gemboknya khusus yang nanti di bandara di seluruh Amerika tuh security-nya, if they happen to need to open your luggage for whatever reason, they have the master key. So you want to use the TSA accepted locks, karena kalau enggak, they will just rip it out, and we don't want that, right? Checked baggage allowance. Normally for international flights, it's 2 pieces, and each luggage not exceeding 23 kilograms, so you have a total of 46 kilograms. I know it's a lot, but I have actually some tips on my next slide. Kalau bisa jangan dipenuhin tuh 2 koper, and I'm gonna tell you why. Just some tips if you can do an online check-in, just to speed up the process when you're in the airport. So instead of get in line like everybody else, if you already checked in, you can just simply go to the counter for so that you can just drop your bag and get your boarding pass. I like to pick my seat in advance. So for example, at least from the connecting flight to the US. So if you're flying from here to, for example, Hong Kong, from Hong Kong to the US, I like to actually pick my seat in advance. If possible, if there's still some seat available, pick a seat in the front row of the economic seats. Why? Karena ketika nanti kalian sampai Amerika, you guys have to go through the immigration, right? Depending on the airline. So for example, assuming that the majority of passengers will have to go through the immigration, if you are in the front row of the economic class, you will be very fast to get into the, get interviewed by the immigration officer. Because if not, then you're gonna be all the way in the back, and then you guys are already tired, because we're talking about a very long flight, right? We're talking about 12, 13 hours flight from wherever your connecting flight is to the US. So it's a very long flight. For the checked baggage, just some lists that you may want to bring. Enough clothes. So for example, if you are studying for a bachelor degree, you know that you're going to spend for the next 4 or 5 years in the US, right? So sometimes mom usually will like to bring everything, right? So you basically have 2 big luggages full of things. I learned my lesson. I also spent my bachelor degree in the US, so think about it. So you're going to live in the US for 4 years, right? You're going to bring those 2 big luggages, assuming that you're going to bring all those stuff back when you're done with your study. But then when you live there, you also have some extra other new stuff. So can you imagine how many stuff that you're going to bring back to Indonesia? So my lesson learned is, if you can only bring 1 luggage, that's it, that would be great, because you're gonna shop there. If mom said nope, you're not gonna shop, you're gonna buy everything from here, no, you're gonna shop. Trust me, you are going to spend money on shopping. So bring enough clothes. Don't forget to bring universal adapter as well, because our electricity colokannya ya is actually different than the US one. So to be safe, bring the universal adapter, especially if you bring your laptop from here, if you bring some gadgets from Indonesia. Local medicines, you can definitely bring that. If you have the prescription one, also have that with you. Long underwear, kita bilang, ada yang tahu nggak sih long underwear? Long john kita bilangnya ya. It depends if you are, like Brad said, you know, take a look at a lot of you guys going to Michigan, Minnesota, very cold place, and you definitely want to bring this because it's not really that common in the US, I believe. So you can just might as well bring it from here, right? Don't forget to bring Indonesian souvenirs. If you think at this point that why I don't think I should bring one, you should, because when you are in the US, especially if this is your first time, you're going to be super duper nationalist. When you get there, for whatever reason, you're going to love Indonesia even more than now. So you might as well just bring some Indonesian souvenirs to share, or when you attend like some events. The carry-on bag, usually maximum 7 kilo, with an additional little bag for your laptop if you bring your laptop. Don't forget to bring your passport, and if you already have your visa, always bring your I-20 with you, right? Passport and I-20, they can't go separate. They belong together, so they have to be together, okay? Important contacts and addresses in the US, just in case when you get to the US and you do the interview with the immigration officer, they, you know, just happen to want to know like where you're going to live. You have that information. If you're the old school type, you can write that down on a piece of paper, or you can put that on your phone as well. Comfortable clothes and shoes, it's obvious, but some people might not really think like that. But really, comfortable clothes and shoes, because again, we're talking about a very long flight. The connecting flight usually will take about 12 to 13 hours non-stop, so you definitely want to wear something comfortable. Bring your laptop with you if you have to. Bring some books and any liquids. This is tricky because not a lot of people actually know about this rule, but if you bring any liquids, you have to store it in a 100 milliliter container in a Ziploc bag. So we're going to talk just a little bit about that, especially on the connecting flight, maybe not so much when from the Indonesian airport to your next destination, but from the connecting airport to the US, they're going to be very strict about the liquids rule. So you can definitely bring anything liquids like lotions if you want to bring your own toothpaste or something like that. You want to put that in a, you know, just in a 100 milliliter container in a Ziploc bag, and everything has to fit in there in that bag, all right? And you know, the questions that we got a lot, how much money can I bring into the United States? Can I actually bring a lot of money? You can actually bring as much money as you want. However, if you bring more than 10,000 US dollar, that's fine. That's fine, but you just have to declare it. So before you land to the US, biasanya nanti kalian you're going to get like a blue piece of paper. They're going to ask you to fill in some information, you know, if you bring some prohibited items and such. And then they also have a question if you actually bring more than 10,000 US dollar. If you bring more than 10,000, just say yes. They're not gonna take away your money, but you just have to declare it. It's going to be a big problem if you actually bring 10,000 US dollar, but you don't say it on the paper, and they actually caught you bringing more than 10,000, then that's gonna be a problem. So it's okay if you bring more, but you just have to declare. Can I travel with medication? Definitely yes. If it's over-the-counter type of medication, that's fine. But if you have a doctor's prescription, please also bring that. If you have, misalnya kayak cewek-cewek obat jerawat misalnya, and then let's say you're spending 1-2 years in the US, you may not want to bring like the supply for that long because that's going to raise suspicions on why you want to bring that a lot of medication. But the rule of thumb is you bring no more than a 90-day supply or 3 months. Can I bring in food to the United States? Yes, but you have to be very careful. There are some lists that you can and cannot bring to the US. For example, if you want to bring daging, meat, no. Daging is a no, right? Meat is a no. But you can bring Indomie, sambal ABC, kecap. Tapi nanti kita ada tips juga kok, di mana you actually don't have to bring all those amazing Indonesian condiments because trust me, actually they have that in the US as well. Do I need to bring kitchen appliance? This is from mom, right? Kamu mau bawa apa? Rice cooker? Gimana rice cooker? Nanti masak nasi di sana? No, you don't have to. Not necessary. Kenapa? Karena nanti ribet juga di different voltage, right? This is a hassle. I mean, it's a big items. So you don't have to do it. So kalau misalnya di Indonesia sekarang kan kita udah mulai online shopping is quite a thing now, starting to be quite a thing. But it's in the US, you can definitely buy that online, right? With a really good price as well. Do I need to buy and bring winter coats from Indonesia? Moms also like this. Bring 4, 5 even, right? It's gonna be so cold. Check the weather first. Is that making sure like where you live? Check the winter season. If it's really that cold, I would suggest just to bring 1 from here, and then you can actually get a really good price in the US, way less than if you buy it here. Actually, like really, you can actually check these stores out. You will feel. Trust me, if you have not heard about this, Nordstrom Rack, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Target, you will see this a lot in the US. Everywhere in the US, you're going to see these stores. Do I need to pack Indonesian food? Like what I said earlier, you can technically, but then again, you don't have to. Why? Because there's eFood Depot. Like, this is going to be your best friend when you are in the US, really. You can find every food all over the world in this website. So I actually learned that they actually have a huge factory somewhere in Midwest, I think, when they actually bring in all the Indonesian food. They even sell agar-agar, kayak things that you won't even think that they actually have in the US. Coklat kayak choki-choki. Who eats choki-choki today? But they actually have that. So they actually have everything. I know it will cost more expensive, but it's actually not that bad. When you're in the US, you're going to feel, akan menyamain mulai kebiasa sama harga-harga di US. And actually, it's not that bad. All right? Arriving in the US. So you already land, and what's next? The US airport, immigration, and customs. And you will be like, oh my God, this is the nervous feeling, just similar to when you're applying for the visa, right? But it's unnecessary, actually. Some of the immigration officers might look very serious, but we can assume that they might be tired, right? They might be tired, especially if you get into the US like at midnight, for example. So for some, probably you feel like already nervous because the immigration officers look very serious, look like not friendly at all, but they're actually very friendly. You can just like talk to them, like, hey, like, how's it going? How are you? And stuff like that. So number one, you just have to be relaxed because we don't want to have any problem. If you're very nervous, they might actually take you to the back, but just be relaxed, right? Just relax. Eye contact, right? Just like when if you already got your visa, then you know all this, right? Passport and I-20, always have that ready with you because you're going to take a look at that. Again, just have the important contacts and address ready. Sometimes they would like to know, okay, so we're going to stay, we're going to live, so you have the answer, right? And then they're gonna do the fingerprints, and then after that, they're gonna say, welcome to the US, and then after that, you will go and give the customs declaration form yang aku tadi bilang, the yang biru, itu nanti dikasih ke another officer, and then when you're done, you can actually take your luggage with you, okay? And transportation. What about transportation from the airport? Like, I don't know anybody. I don't have anybody. When I get there, I'll be on my own. Don't worry. There are a lot of transportation options for you. My favorite is using the shared ride airport shuttle, usually starting at $30 depending on the length of the location to your destination. You can actually make the reservation from now if you want. I mean, if you're leaving soon, you can do that. So when you get there, they already have your name ready and everything. You can also do online taxis. It's also very common in the US. The airport taxis, although that it might be quite expensive, or if you're quite berpetualang, right? And then you want to kind of like familiar yourself with the train and bus system already when you get there, because you can't wait to explore all the transportation system where you're going to live, then you can also do that because there are a lot of connecting train or bus from the airport. And that's it from me, but we're going to move on. Topiknya belum kelar nih, karena kita baru aja nyampe ke Amerika, right? So what's next? What's next after you get to the US? So again, welcome to the United States. After that, and then we're going to invite Redha Widarsyah, alumni from University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and Purdue University to present the next presentation.
How are you guys doing? So first of all, how many of you have been to Vegas? No? Yes. Yes, Vegas friends. And how many of you are Purdue Boilermakers, if I want to know? Nope, I'm the only one. So when you arrive in the United States, you will experience some kind of physical and emotional fatigue. Mostly it's just about headache, dizziness, a little bit constipation, diarrhea. Okay, that's taking too far. Dehydration, so make sure you drink a lot. A little bit of insomnia because of the long flight. And emotionally, you may feel anxious. So to get over the jet lag, one of the things you might want to do is make sure you don't drink alcohol. Sometimes it's allowed on international flight. Drink a lot of water. Sleep as much as possible, even though it's very hard to sleep when it's a transcontinental flight, trans-Pacific flight. So make sure when you are before on board on flight, you have one of those airplane pillow seats available. And every few hours, go to the restroom, stretch yourself, and then walk around the cabin. Maybe talk to the stewardess or the people next to you. Now, once you're on the ground, you want to follow normal eating habits because it's a little bit, there's a huge time difference. There's about 24 hours time difference between Indonesia and United States. And you want to follow their time zone. So if you are feeling a little bit sleepy at 2 p.m., which is basically 2 a.m. in Indonesia, try not to sleep and follow their sleeping pattern back then. Take a walk, exercise, breathe in, enjoy the scenery. Maybe take a walk around the university while you're there. And then give yourself some time for your new adjustment. Housing. So this is, I'm not an authority on this matter, but I can give you some advice about housing, and as much as I know about housing at UNLV and then at Purdue. So when you're considering housing, there are different types and prices. There are housings for single roommates. There are housing for a whole apartment. And there's also housing in the university. And each housing offers different type of amenities. So when you are going there, for example, if you're checking an apartment, you want to ask them, okay, what does the rent include? So the place where I rented at Purdue include water, sewage, internet. So that cut my cost quite a lot. And then there's also electricity. And electricity in the United States could cost a little bit, about around $150 to $200. Another consideration you may want to take is distance to campus. This is really important because some of you, while you arrive there, you may not have any type of transportation. So you may have to walk. So the most important thing when you ask the apartment manager is that, does my apartment is within the city bus network system or the university network system? Why is that critical? Because it does take a hustle to walk up and down the university, for 7 days a week. So to have a bus system that is close by, it's really great. And on top of it, sometimes when you are a student, the bus fare comes for free. Roommates or no roommates? Well, this really depends. So if you are on campus housing, when you're staying at the dorms, mostly you are paired with the roommates. But sometimes when you're off-campus housing, they will try to pair you with a roommate that sort of fit your own. So the most important thing is about housing is sometimes housing availability at United States is very lacking, like at fall. So research as early as possible and then call them or email them to see if you can put on the list. Security and privacy. We'll talk about security and privacy later on, but most of the times you want to make sure you lock all your belongings indoor, maybe by some safe. And then there are some security alert system that you can buy at Home Depot or Walmart just to kind of keep you safe in your room. There are different types of lease agreements. Some lease agreements comes in monthly. Some lease agreements come in yearly. Sometimes you have a lease agreement which is sublease, which means that somebody owns the apartment, but then they lease that apartment, they lease that room to you. And look around your neighborhood, right? So it's really critical where your neighborhood is. Here's the catch. Some universities are not located in a very good neighborhood, so you might want to look at, is the neighborhood safe? You know, you look around and then find a good neighborhood that suits your need. Resources. So when you first arrive in the United States, the most important thing you do is not going to housing directly, but you meet with your international student advisor. You need to report first your I-20 status, and then that you are present. The university, the international student advisor or the international student office will refer you either to university housing office if you live in a university, because that's part of the dormitory, or they may refer you to some outside apartment. And sometimes at the when you're arriving, they come with this international welcoming. And during that international welcoming week, they usually have a representative from different apartments and university off campus and on campus stand by for you to discuss. Another option you might want to take is Indonesian Student Association. While at my alma mater at UNLV, we don't have a PERMIAS, at Purdue we do. And you can reach out to them either through Facebook or through email. And then usually they can give you some information as far as housing availability, where to rent the best apartments, and then tell you about the rate as well. And they may be able to send you some representative to pick you up from the airport. Campus bulletin board is also another important thing. There's a lot of apartments or people are looking for roommates, so that's another resource you can use. Campus social media forum. So check your Facebook group, university. So at Purdue, we have Purdue Free and For Sale. That's basically all the housing information if they're looking for roommates or if you're looking something to sell. There's online forum like Craigslist. So each city has its own Craigslist. Airbnb. You may not stay at Airbnb, but there's another options you can use. So on and off-campus housing. Sometimes this discussion of on and off-campus housing, that if you're going to university, it is mandatory for you to stay 1 year at the dormitory or a semester. So you cannot really opt out of off-campus housing. But if you're not going to university and they don't have a compulsory mandatory stay at the dormitory, then you might have to look at off-campus housing early on before you arrive at the school. So what's the difference? Price. So if you are on-campus housing, the price will be more expensive. I think a semester at Purdue dormitory costs about $5,000 or $4,000, but that includes meal expenses, that access to the food halls, as well as they call it store credits, they call it dining dollars that you can use to pay for printer, you can pay for your convenience stores, you can also pay for and food outlets. Now, off-campus housing prices are relatively cheaper, and sometimes the rate includes other amenities, but it does not include food expenses. That's an additional expense you might have to think about. There are different types. So on-campus housing, there are two types. There's a dormitory, and there's a student apartment. A student apartment is usually geared toward graduate students or students that have families, and dormitory is more geared toward undergraduate students. For off-campus housing, there are usually two types of accommodations available. One is an apartment building, which is I usually live in. They're either a duplex, or you stay with your roommates, or you live in a house. And that house, you could rent the whole house, or you could just rent just room inside the house. The space, there are also differences in space. Dormitories tend to be very small. You share a small room with 2 people usually. And then as you progress to your undergraduate year, you may be able to stay in a dorm where you are staying by your own. Off-campus housing, they tend to be bigger. So you're looking about 800 square feet of an apartment. And then they have additional features come with it. So it comes with kitchen. Usually it does have laundry room. Depending on where you are, if you live in the urban city, you might have separate laundry room available. And it does come with internet. It comes with living room. And then water and etc. Security. So security at dormitories tends to be safer. Why? Because for you to access a dormitory, you usually need a student pass. And then the student police are usually patrolling that area extensively. On off-campus housing, you have to be more careful. So you want to make sure that the place you're located is pretty safe. There are a lot of students within that off-campus housing itself. Usually if there's a lot of students, it tends to be safe. And mostly police patrol that area intensively. But also you might want to take a security precaution on your own. So you want to make sure you lock all your apartments before you leave. You want to make sure you have some security devices or security alert system to make sure that, if there's in any case something happens to you, you can be safe. Privacy-wise, it's a difference too. So as in dormitory, because you have to share with 2 people, it tends to be less private compared to an apartment where you have your room to yourself. Facilities are very different. The biggest difference in on-campus housing and off-campus housing is that on-campus housings have access to facilities that are available to most students. So this includes your dining halls. Sometimes it also includes your student recreation center, your gymnasium. Or off-campus housings, most of the stuffs are inaccessible, and then some of your apartments are unfurnished as well, including your utilities, so you have to buy a lot of stuff before you get in and then live comfortably. But also access to facilities that is on campus is a little bit more distant, so it takes a little bit more time, so it takes more walk. Flexibility-wise, so with on-campus housings, they have very strict flexibility. It means that by the end of spring, usually, you have to clean out your dormitory and then move out, because they have to be ready for the next freshman coming in at fall. For off-campus housing, it's much easier. Usually around April or around March, you can extend your contractual agreement for the next year, and usually you can get better rate because you can lock into the older rate instead of the newer rate. Condition-wise, it really depends. Dormitories at the United States can be very old, or they refurbish it or renovate it and it's new. But most of the times it's traditional, but it's old, but it's clean, and then it's all up to par. With apartments, it's a little bit more gambling. Sometimes you have an old apartment that's refurnished, but it's usually not up to standards. Some apartments could be very new, and newer apartments tends to be more expensive. And then location-wise, of course, dormitory is much closer to campus. Usually it's within less than a mile to your closest classrooms, while off-campus apartment is usually a mile apart from your classrooms or a university center. So one way to get that is public transportation. All right, first to-do list. So you have all this money, right, coming from Indonesia. So which branch should you choose? The most important thing when you choose a branch is how many network of banks they have within the states and outside the states. So for example, when I live in Las Vegas, the prominent bank there is Bank of America. It's a West Coast bank. So there's a lot of Bank of America branches around the city and on campus. But when I live in the Midwest, in Indiana, there's 0 Bank of America banks. So then it means you have to open another bank. It's called Chase. You have to open a Chase Bank, which are mostly there. And they actually just opened Bank of America recently, about 2 months ago. You only need to there's a minimum rate to open a Chase account. Mostly you need about $25. You need your passports and I-20. And usually during welcoming week, the bank manager will be happy to assist you with that. Your student ID and a physical address where you're located. If the address is not available, I think you can use your university or your temporary address, and you can update it later on online. When you're opening a bank, you don't want to have savings accounts. You want to have your student checking accounts because usually it's the most cheapest and most affordable available. the upgrade to another checking account is sometimes you have to stay a minimum amount. So it's usually about $50 or $100 every month. With student checking accounts, your bank takes your maintenance fee off, and then there's no minimum balance whatsoever. Another thing about banking in America that is also important, if let's say your spouse has or your sister has a different bank account, you want to make sure if your bank has, they call a Zelle network, is within the Zelle network system, or they have a quick pay account. That allows you to transfer money from one account to the other within 24 hours instead of waiting the 3 days window and then additional fee of it. Register a phone card. So most of you, once you're there, your phone card, usually with Telkomsel, usually have a data roaming. They partner with the 4 major carriers in the United States. But let's say you want to get to the plan. So there are several plans you can choose. You can choose T-Mobile, Sprint, AT&T, Verizon Wireless, and each of them have different price plan and also different data packages. I myself choose T-Mobile, you know, no suggestion. But one thing about mobile plan, if you want to save more money, is that sometimes in the phone plan they call family plan. So if you and your Indonesian friends want to, you know, get it a little bit cheaper, you can add your Indonesian friend as a family members, and then it brings down the overall cost of monthly phone plan down. So there's prepaid and postpaid. So some prepaid plan is usually like very rarely we use prepaid plan. Mostly it's just postpaid. All right, state ID and driver's license. So the way to get state ID is to get a driver's license usually. And you can use that as a replacement to travel around the United States. So if you're traveling, let's say I'm from Indiana and I'm going to Las Vegas or I'm going to Chicago by plane, you don't need to bring your passport or your I-20. You can use your driver's license as a replacement. And to apply for a driver's license, you might want to contact your international student office, and they should have available information as to what the requirement is. So you want to apply for a driver's license. What do you need to do first? First, maybe not to buy a car. First, you need to pass the test. Not like Indonesia or over here. You have to pass the test. It takes about 2 times. So once you pass the test, they'll give you a permit. They call it's an instruction permit. So it has some restriction as to when you can drive and the hours you can drive. But once you pass the practice test, they can give you the full driving license. So get your state ID or driving license when in nearest DMV. Make sure you have all the documents you have while you're there instead of, you know, going back and forth to get the documents. You know, the Department of Motor Vehicle could be very long, and it could be you could spend a whole day there. Alternatively, while you're from here, you can also apply for international driving permit. I'm not sure where location exactly. I think there's one at Dan Mogot. But with international driving permit, is that it allows you to rent cars in the United States. Sometimes it also allows you to have access to, they call it sharing car, like zip car in the United States. So you can get in, you can use that with your friends and then go to grocery shopping or go somewhere else. Just please be mindful that United States driving systems and Indonesian driving system is reverse. So it takes some time to get used to it, to where you know, your location as far as driving is. Because I just learned driving again back in Indonesia, and it's mind-boggling. It's completely mind-boggling. You know, you don't know where your location is it left or right? And then sometimes you don't even know where your blinker is because you keep switching it, you keep reversing or switching it on. Public transportation. Public transportation is very important. And especially for you, if you are arrived in the United States, public transportation, the one thing you need to know is the public transportation available from my apartment or where I live to the university, also to the nearest grocery store, because you guys need to eat, right? So you want to know, you want to be familiar with the public transportation wherever you are, either by subway or buses, and then map out where the public transportation are going. So when I was in Vegas and before I have any other car, the public transportation buses usually carry these big maps. They carry these really big maps where, like, with the routes, wherever the routes are going, and I usually have it in my room. So every time I take a bus, I know exactly which line I have to take and at what time it should be arriving. But now with Google Map, everything is pretty easy. You can just put in where your destination is and select public transportation, and they'll tell you when it comes in. Although Google Map may not include in-house public transportation that is available from the university. So double check with that. Grocery shopping, yay. Grocery shopping, should you do it daily or weekly? Probably do weekly, right? So plan ahead. So eFood Depot, I never know about eFood Depot before, but buying Asian food in United States could be challenging because it's not mostly available. At Las Vegas, there's only one store. It's like 3 miles away. But at Purdue, it tends to be clustered around the university. So they have like these small bodega or small stores that sell very limited items of Asian foods available. But one of the things that I like about the United States right now is that if you are going to the grocery stores, the availability of halal food sometimes are available within your local stores, or there's more availability of vegan food. So it's much easier for you to find a substitute for meat or chicken if it's necessary, and it tastes pretty good. So if you're looking for a nearby restaurant, definitely go Yelp.com and explore restaurants in the United States. They don't have PKL there, but food over there is awesome. And then also Zabiha.com if you're looking for halal food or halal stores markets. Some big universities, they do have halal market around the university area. And then some bodegas, they do sell halal meat. One example is at our Purdue University nearby Walmart. They start stocking up halal chicken and a halal beef, but it's not standardized for every grocery store or every Walmart. So it really depends on the needs of the market, of the local market. Okay, I think that'll be all. So I'll pass down to Fina. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Redha. And we can just start with, we have a special visit from the Ohio State University. So let's welcome Adrian Rodgers from Ohio State University. You got some of the slides?
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks. Fina, which way is it? This one?
The right one. Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah. Can you guys stand in the right and the left to me? Okay. That'll be great. So, okay. So Luke, here. We didn't practice. So, great, perfect. This is great. So, Namaste, Adrian, dari Universitas Negeri Ohio, and I'm a faculty member at Ohio State University. I'm an alumni of Ohio State University, but also, most importantly for today, I was an international student at Ohio State University because I was born in Canada and worked there until I was 30, only 2 years ago. That's a joke. And then I immigrated to the US as a student, and now I work there. Today I brought a team of students and an alum, and I'll get them to introduce themselves by saying their name, their major, and what year they're in, or what year they graduated.
Hi, my name is Luke. I'm a second-year history major, and I'm going to be graduating in 2021.
Hi, my name is Hawa. I'm a psychology major, and I'm going into my 3rd year this fall, and I'll be graduating in 2021 as well.
Hello there. My name is Erni. I am the alumni of Ohio State University, and I was majoring in teaching and learning subject.
Hi, my name is Asha. I am a 4th-year university student, and my major is public health.
And they'll stay around for the question and answer, and also on the break, so feel free to approach them and ask any question. So the first topic was the first week, and how I was going to talk about things in the first week.
Yes, so you guys will go to see that during the first week, it is going to be the most hectic, exciting time of the year. You will have a lot of free time to explore your campus, and usually the morale is very high. You have the first-year students who are so excited to live on campus and meet new people. You have the 2nd and 3rd years who are just like yelling because they're reuniting with their friends. And then the fourth year students probably just want to graduate, I don't know. And then, so you'll probably find like a lot of involvement fairs. So I really encourage that you guys, like for this time, stay out of your dorms, like explore all the options is like how you can get involved. I know earlier someone mentioned the Indonesia Student Association. I recommend that you guys find that booth somewhere in your involvement fair, maybe meet people who have the same interests and like are very similar to you. Just take your time, practice your walk from class to your dorm, ask around for any help. Everyone's there to help you and to like enhance your college experience. So definitely just try to feel as welcome as possible. Yes, and then there's also, that's the time where you should get your student ID. There's probably gonna be a booth or like people there like with like a camera station or something where you just take your picture. It's a very quick, easy process. Get that out of the way as soon as possible.
And student IDs now, they're kind of super student IDs, right? You can load money on them, you use them for your library books, you can use them at vending machines, so it's a very important thing to have. The next thing is, as an international student, you will have probably 2 advisors. An international advisor to help you, guide you through immigration processes and paperwork, and then an academic advisor. So Erni will talk about the international advisor, and then Asha will talk about the academic advisor.
Okay, thank you. It will be very shocking the first time you came to the United States. You will go through a lot of immigration things at the beginning. When you started stepping on the campus area, and you are actually, knowing your place to live in, you need to get used to, start to figure out ways and so on and so on. But the first thing, when you go to school the first time, they will go for immigration orientation. So they will look up your documents, your passport, your I-20 and everything, and they will make your student ID. The student ID is for you to be able to buy things around the campus and also something nearby it. So actually your student ID is very, very necessary for you to have. So make sure you will not forget the documents they require you to have. For the international office, they are so helpful. So talk to them, whatever it is, your questions. Sometimes we may not assume, better to ask than wrong. They will definitely, if you wanna, let's say, you want to ask about the subjects, whatever, go through them. Don't be embarrassed, don't be shy. There's no silly questions. Just get them and know them because they are very helpful. The Office of International also conduct the orientation for your international students as well.
So academic advisor-wise, I know when I first started, I had no idea what I wanted to major in. Like I went in really blind. And then I had an exploration advisor that kind of walked me through different majors and whatnot that I wanted to go ahead and explore. And then luckily I found public health, which is what I'm currently majoring in now. And then my first 2 years, I got to meet a really great academic advisor. His name was Guy Smalley, but he did retire. But he walked me through the whole public health process, applying the whole gist of what public health was essentially. And then I went ahead and applied to public health and am now a major in it. But yeah, he walked me through everything graduation-wise. I'm graduating May 2020, hopefully. And like he walked me through that whole process, essentially.
All right, Luke's gonna talk about 3 topics next. So the importance of the orientation tour, buying books, and activities and clubs.
So you're gonna do your campus tour usually at the beginning of your stay there, and It's you just kind of, you want to make sure to take this time to really get to know your campus, and you'll meet some great people along the way on this tour, and see around, make sure you understand where all of your classes are, and you understand where all of the academic advisor offices are, and just to familiarize yourself with the campus, so that way you're able to just go through your first year smoothly, because after that it'll be fine. Oh, and the books. With books, they can be very expensive, and you can get them at Amazon, or you can get them at local bookstores. But I know that some people, like Asha, don't even need books. Sometimes you just don't. So it doesn't, sometimes students don't need to buy them. I've bought books for most of the classes that I've used, or that I've taken, and they've helped. But usually you just want to talk to some students that have already taken the courses, so that way you know if the books are useful or not, because sometimes they're not. Okay, and with activities and clubs at the Ohio State University, we have hundreds of clubs, like so many clubs, and you'll see that at a lot of large American universities. With smaller universities, it might not be the case, but you will find so many different clubs with so many different people, with so many different interests. I know that we have like Indonesian student organization, like you were saying, and I know that I'm personally in running club, which is just a club just dedicated to going out and exercising and running with other people. I've met a lot of friends that way, so it's a good way to make friends and find out if others have your interests. So
Asha, you're going to talk about diversity.
Okay. So OSU is full of diversity, like much like America in general. So depending on where you guys go to school, there's going to be, like Luke said, many different clubs like dedicated towards religious like backgrounds, and then cultural backgrounds as well. I'm Somali. I'm Muslim as well. At OSU we have about 5% Black people that attend OSU. It is a bit small, but generally you do find those people. And then I know coming straight from Indonesia, it's going to be hard to adjust, but you'll definitely find the people that you like mesh with and whatnot. So you stick, you'll be fine.
So you're going to talk about being open-minded.
Another important thing when starting University in America is to be open-minded. You will naturally feel like uncomfortable and anxious, but know that a lot of people are probably in the same shoes as you. Like, there's the first years, it's their first time at university as well. There's the transfer students who are unfamiliar with the campus, but it's important to know that everybody there is most people are very their position is to help you. Don't be afraid to walk up to people and ask for help. I remember my first week, I didn't know where one of my classes was, and this lady walked me she did the 10-minute walk with me to class, no problem. And the next day I knew where my class was, and it was such a hard thing to be like, hey, can you help me? But once I did it, I realized it was no big deal at all, and that's what they're there for, to help you and be there for you. And I also encourage to try to make friends. Don't be I know you came for school, but don't just focus on attending your class and going back to your dorm, because college is the best time of your life. It's a very great experience, and join those clubs that are related to your major, your academic interests, or just some hobbies like running, or anything that you find interesting. Do your best to get involved in as many things as possible. That's going to be the highlight of your college experience.
Okay, you're going to talk about teaching styles.
Okay, all right. This is the teaching style thing, yeah. It's honestly speaking, when I was the first time I was in a classroom in the U.S., it's a totally different atmosphere than what I had back in home in Indonesia, because you got to talk your mind out. You have to be confident. You need to say something if you want. You think this this is my idea, this is my opinion. You better be confident. Just, back in Indonesia, being too outspoken, that would be not so great. That's my experience. I was here too, studying before going to the US. But I'm not generalizing all universities are doing that way, but probably not all, but probably majority of them. But it's getting better nowadays, right? So the teaching style is asking you to speak up your mind. There will be a lot of discussions. And it's not one standard applies for everything. It could be there's no such right or wrong. It's just different perspective. As long as you don't trespass human rights, I think that's it. Also reading, you have to be a heavy reader because the lecturers in the US universities, they will assign you with a lot of reading materials. You don't say 5 pages, 20 pages probably, yeah, per one subject. Can you imagine if you have 5 subjects you take in a semester, meaning every week you have to read around 100 pages for the entire 5 subjects. So be a heavy reader and don't be afraid to speak up your mind. There's no right and wrong. Just be mindful with your surrounding.
So the last 4 things that I would talk about are related to teaching. The first would be evaluation and grading. And sometimes, but not always, in Indonesia, there's a focus on testing. And sometimes in America, you will find the same focus, but other times not. So it could be that in one course, 100% final, multiple choice test. But in another course, it's a portfolio, or you create your own assignment. So expect that there might be a range in the way that you're evaluated. It's very important. It's so easy to just, find something on Google, copy it, paste it right into your paper, and move on. But anytime you use the words of someone else, at least put a quote mark around it, and then say where it came from, using the style guide that the instructor told you. A third thing to think about is, as we heard from the introduction, some places can be very formal, doctor. Other places can be very informal. So finding the culture of the institution that you're at, or the culture of the particular program, or the pecking order of first year, second year, third year graduate students will be really important. Take time to do that and talk to locals to determine what the expectations are. And then the last thing that I would say about faculty and student relationships is it's very typical for any faculty member to post what we call office hours, when the faculty member will be in their office, or you might need to schedule an appointment instead of a drop-in. I strongly encourage you to meet with your faculty member in each course, maybe 2 times throughout the semester, maybe after the second or third week, and maybe about 2/3 of the way through. I can count on one hand the number of times a student has made an appointment with me for faculty hours. It's typically we'll talk briefly after class, that's common, but making a formal appointment to sit down and talk for 10 or 15 minutes, extremely rare and very, very beneficial. Let your faculty members get a chance to know you. Thank you, everybody. Terima kasih.
All right, thank you so much. Moving on, we are on the last topic before we're going on the break. But then again, after the break, jangan pulang ya. Karena habis ini kita bakal ada sesi tentang visa. And then we're going to do the discussion and Q&A with all the panelists. All right, so the next one is adjusting to life in America. So basically you already know, your campus and everything. Tapi you're going to spend, a number of years in the US, right? How to adjust as an Indonesian, as an international student living in the US. So we already have Triana here, an alumni from University of Oregon and Columbia University. Please give a round of applause.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Selamat sore. My name is Triana. I'm as mentioned, an alumni of University of Oregon. Any incoming students to the U of O? No? Okay. Also, I studied in Columbia University in New York for my graduate school. So, hello everyone, and I see there's so many people of you. I didn't expect that I have to speak in such so many big room and so many people, but if you're here, then that means you're already accepted to the schools in the United States, and I see some parents here as well. So before we start, let's just give yourself a round of applause, and parents as well, because congratulations, you did a good job, and the application process might be very daunting, but you're here, so congratulations. For the next few slides, I'll just talk about some of the things that you may or may not experience as an incoming student to the United States. Some of you may have been there before, lived there before, or spent some time there, but some of you may just go there for the first time. So probably one of the biggest things is culture shock. Although, if you think about it, nowadays, you can access everything on your phone at the tip of your finger, and you see American cultures everywhere. If you watch Netflix, you listen to Spotify, you use iPhone, you watch some of the big Hollywood movies. So this might be something that you will encounter. But I really like the other session before this saying that, you may not be the only person who experienced this. So there will be a lot of international students coming in. And maybe even if you have been to the US, and then you start realizing, hey, I'm actually gonna spend time more than I used to here, maybe for 4 years if you're taking undergrad. And you will experience some new things that you will see. But worry not. I think you're already there. That means that you already had that open-mindedness to be away from home and to brace yourself to a new country. So, inside of you, there might be some already open-mindedness that you're ready for some changes or experiencing new things. So, these are just the stages of culture shock. It says that when you first get there, you're probably on your honeymoon period. Yay, I'm so happy I'm going to the States. I'm away from my parents. I'm kidding. Maybe some of you feel like that. And then, as time goes by, then you take your classes, and maybe it starts to get quite hard, and you have some questions. And then the anxiety starts to kick in, right? Oh, this is hard. And wow, I'm not used to this. Oh, I cannot just go home if I don't like this because I already made a commitment to go here. I can't just call my parents and say, I'm out. I don't like it here. And then after a while, you get some adjustment. You realize that this is just temporary. And you see friends, maybe some Indonesians as well, maybe other international students. You share stories and they feel the same way, and you start to adjust, you get used to things. And finally, then there's acceptance. So you'll become familiar with what it is, what's this new environment that you're in, and new activities that you're exposed to, and that hopefully you don't have to go through this stage. I personally didn't. I was there and I got excited, and over time I got even more excited. I even forgot to call my parents. Guys, don't do that, because my parents had to call me and like, hey, how you been? Like, you're like 20 hours away by flight, but yeah. So you may not have to experience this, but if you do, just be aware that you're not the only one. And as mentioned, the campus will most likely have a very good experience with handling international students. I just talked to a guy, he's going to UC Berkeley. That's a great school, and I'm sure UC Berkeley has amazing resources to help with international students, and they know exactly what you're going through and being away from home. The next, you may also experience language barrier and communication issues. Although in your application process, you might have already had to write some essays, and if you got accepted, then that means you're pretty good. So you may experience this, but it gets intimidating at times because then you have to speak it every day, and not just for daily use, but also in class. And we were reminded earlier that when you're in class, you may be expected to explain more of what you think, and this requires more, I guess, sophistication in communication compared to your day-to-day. But practice makes better and not perfect. We're not aiming for perfection. Your teacher would know that you're also not from there, so it's fine. You can also ask them, hey, can you speak Bahasa? They probably can't, or they probably can. But it's fine, don't get intimidated, but just practice. And then try before you decide you cannot, and then of course, you are not alone. It also helps when you talk to, try to find some, you live in the dorm, then you probably got partnered with an American or a local roommate. I think that's the best way to practice your English. But if not, I'm sure you will be, you'll be meeting friends in class who are also from there. And yeah, just make sure that you make friends and don't be shy about talking to them. And before you know it, you'll probably be speaking very well. Oh. Another myth, homesickness and coping strategies. Again, you might really miss your hometown. What I really miss is Indonesian food, of course. Like a week after, I'm like craving bubur ayam for breakfast. They just have pancakes and but here are some of the tips. You can pack some of your favorite things from home. Keep busy, write up your own plan. Although I'm sure if you just got there and you went through the orientations week, you will be very busy. There will be a lot of activities and you will be exposed to new things. You'll be looking at different student organizations. You'll be learning how to register for class and so on. So I'm sure that you will be busy, but in the case when you are not and you feel very lonely, then you can try to keep yourself busy and maybe find, things to do that helps you keep your mind away from being homesick. Explore the town that you're in. If you've never been there before, I think that's a good idea. You can register to, city tour or something to really get to know the place that you will live in. You can phone home regularly. You need to phone home. You need to tell your family that you're okay, that you're fine and you're happy. But not too often, because maybe then your parents are also worried, oh, why do you call me so many times? Don't you have things to do, or maybe you don't like being there? But just check in with your family at home. And then talk to other people about how you're feeling. Again, you're probably not the only one. And even if you have an American friends, maybe they're also feeling the same thing, that they're homesick, they're coming from another city, another state. So it's best to talk to these new friends. Don't give up, and remember that things will always get better. This is the biggest myth and my favorite one, freshman 15. Who here knows what this means? Right? Freshman 15 is a myth that once you enter college, then you'll gain 15 pounds because these are the sort of food that you're eating at your dorm. This is not true because depends, right? If you eat like this every day, then yes, and it doesn't take you to go to college to get 15 pounds. If you eat like this here, then you'll get there. But I do agree that once you're there, you get to eat really good foods, delicious food, maybe food that it's hard for you to find here, and then you get, wow, this is good, and I can eat here every day, and I can eat this, and so there's maybe a possibility that you'll gain 15 pounds, but worry not. If you have a healthy lifestyle, you work out, and I'm sure you will, because I'm sure you'll be in a very beautiful city. You can run outdoor, you can go to the gym to prevent this from happening. But if you're during final month or if you're doing a very hard exercise, chances are this is the food that you'll be eating because you just want to make yourself happy. Lastly, American values, cultures, and customs. Greeting people, yes. When I was in Oregon, I walked by and then, someone was just, hey, good morning. And I really like, do I know you? But turns out it's just, a custom. It's nice. Hey, good morning. Oh, hi. Okay. Hey, have a good day. Turns out it's people do that, and it's really nice. I see a lot of people, or even in the end, I like to say hi to people, and my favorite thing is to talk about the weather. Usually, we hate the weather. Oh, it's too hot today. Oh, it's too cold. That's a good, it's also a good pickup line, by the way. Maybe if you want. I'm kidding. If you're bored, waiting for the bus or something, and then, that's usually how you start a conversation. Personal space and etiquette. Yes, this is very important. I think as an Indonesian, our culture is very, what do you call it? Kekeluargaan, and we like to be kepo, and maybe it's fine here, but I don't know what is kepo in English, but I'm sure you guys know what it means. But yes, please refrain from sensitive issues and just asking questions that may be too personal. Like, are you married? Do you have children? That may be a very too personal things for you to ask people that may not be as weird to ask here. But in the States, please make sure that you're being sensitive. Also politics. Don't just go there and take, hey, did you vote for Trump? Hey, did you vote for Hillary? Or maybe here you can do that, but it's a very sensitive topic and it's a personal thing. So unless you are in that sort of discussion or in class talking about it, but maybe that's not a good suggestion. Time orientation. I'm sure no one likes to be late. No one likes to be waiting for someone's late. So please respect the time of whoever you're trying to meet, especially if you're meeting your professor. Professor has office hours usually, and then if you make an appointment, you say you'll be there at a certain time, please make sure that you are there because, of course, time is very important. In social interactions and visits, as an Indonesian, I don't think this is a problem because, yes, we also have very good kebersamaan value. We like to visit our family. Ada di sini kita bilang apa? Silaturahmi. People in the States also do that, especially on certain holidays like the Thanksgiving. And if you're lucky, you can get invited to your friend's Thanksgiving dinner at home. And for me, it really helps cope with my homesickness because then you can spend time with your friends' families and you can help them cook turkey and all the side dishes. And that brings you back of, that family feel that you have at home, and that really helps. All right, lastly, just some fun facts. I also didn't know this, but my favorite thing is the last one. 100 acres of pizza are served in the US every day. That's crazy, but pizzas are good, especially if you're going to New York. All right, I guess that's my last slide. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Triana, for the presentation. So we are actually ready for the break, but before you come in, you got the raffle ticket, yes? You have it ready? So we have two different raffle tickets, those for the accepted students. So we already have a prize ready for you guys. And the other one is for basically the regular visitor, AKA hopefully the prospective students who want to study in the US. We also have prize for that as well. So we already have two balls here. We have Edo there wanting to show off the prizes. Okay, so are we ready? So I'm gonna pick for the regular visitor first.
Don't look. Yeah, regular. Yeah.
Ready? 0133. 0133. Yes, you got a winner. Please come up to the stage to get the prize. And then let's start with the accepted students. So we got 0250. 0250. No? 0250 0133 Yes, please come up to the stage. Yeah, I think we got a confusion here. Yep, naik panggung sebentar for a picture time. So we still don't have the winner for 0250. Oh, do we have one? Okay, please come up to the stage. Okay, yes, okay. So, okay, please come to the stage. Congratulations. Boleh sedikit keterima di mana? Namanya siapa?
Giovanni, Columbia University.
Give a round of applause. All right, so we can give the prize. Semoga dipakai ya. Thank you. All right, so we are on a break now. We are going to come back at 3:40 or 3:45. Please come in because we're going to start sharp, 3:40, 3:45. We're going to talk about visa, and then we're going to call up the panelists to do a discussion and Q&A. All right, thank you guys so much. Please kerubunin orang-orang yang ada pada McKenna-MTech karena itu mereka sudah keterima. So please ask a lot of questions and enjoy. All right, so how was the break, guys? Is it good? Short break, and then now we're actually ready to do another presentation, but this is a bit different because we have a special visit from the visa consul from the US Embassy. So basically, he's one of the interviewers if you want to apply for a visa. So let's give a round of applause for Trent Rowe, visa consul from US Embassy, Jakarta.
Thank you. Hello. So I'm going to be talking about visas and about your status, but I believe, has anybody in here already got a visa? I talked to a few, right? Hold your hand up. Who's got visas? Anybody interview with me? Was I scary? See, it's not scary. Was it difficult? Not really, not really. So I'm going to make it easier on you, okay? And the first thing I'm going to tell you is that all of us officers at the embassy want you to go to America, okay? We want you to. We're looking for a way to get you there, but we need your help, okay? There's 5 steps to getting a student visa, and parents, if you have questions about how to join your student going to America to visit them or something, I'll talk to you and I'll stick around afterwards. If anybody has a question during this presentation, you're welcome to call now, but I'll also stick around and talk to you all one-on-one for a while, okay? But you're gonna apply to a certified school. Basically go online, find these schools, apply. I'm gonna breeze through these because most of you guys have already done this. You're gonna accept the school, they're gonna send you an I-20. It's a form, just tells us what you're studying and where you're studying. Then you're gonna pay your service fee. Once it's paid, you're gonna get a receipt, you're gonna bring it into us with the interview. You're gonna fill out a visa application, and then you're gonna come in and do the student interview. Simple, right? What are you gonna bring to your interview? Those of you that, did anybody have problems at their interview? Somebody didn't have their paperwork? There's somebody here who didn't have their I-20 and they didn't get their visa right away. It takes time. Have these things with you. Your appointment confirmation letter, your DS-160, a photo, your passport. Yes, we need your passport. It's amazing. School documents, the original I-20 form. Do not bring me a copy. Do not print a copy from your email. Bring me the original form, okay? And then your service receipt, of course. And then if you've been given money, I want to know this, and you need to prove it. So bring something. If you were given a scholarship, be proud of that, okay? Show it to me. Let me know about it. If your dad's paying for it, tell me how. If your mom's paying for it, tell me how. That kind of thing. So apply early. Despite what you think, you're not coming into the embassy and leaving with your visa, okay? It takes time. Usually we need 3 to 5 business days. Occasionally we need a little longer. We recommend you apply about a month in advance, okay? It usually takes about a week to process. We can issue your visa up to 120 days before you leave. You can go to America within 30 days of your start date using your student visa, okay? As a matter of fact, if anybody has a tourist visa and you come in to get a student visa, do not enter America on your tourist visa and then study. You have to change status. Easiest way to do that is just go in within 30 days, enter on the student visa, go do a little vacation, visit the Grand Canyon, whatever, and then go to school, okay? Parents, if you're going to go with them, I will tell you this, you still have to apply and qualify on your own for a tourist visa, okay? And just because your child got a student visa doesn't mean you're going to get a tourist visa, but it's a good indication. Mothers, you cannot live with your kids in America. Simple as that. And then when your student visa is up, you're going to get a visa. It's going to be good for a certain amount of time and so many entries, but while you're in America, it's probably going to expire at some point. That's fine. The visa does not have to remain valid. All the visa does is get you into the country. As long as you entered the country on your visa when it was valid, you can stay until your program is done, okay? When you're due, if you come back to Indonesia and you're going to reapply because you've come back for your family, you need to go back to America now, you're reapplying. If you still have the same program, same school, same SEVIS number, you can actually apply for what we call the interview waiver program, and we'll work with you on that. And again, you'll get more information online about that. We often deny visas temporarily, and that's when you don't bring all necessary documents, okay? When we have to get something else from you, it's called a denial, but it's a temporary denial. We put it in hold status, you gotta send us stuff. But, unfortunately, I would love to tell you I issue all the visas I talk to, but I don't. If you come into my office and you're not prepared, I can't help you, okay? I want to help you, but you have to come in prepared. So what we're looking for is, do you plan to live in America full-time and not study? If I think you're not a credible student, if you're going to America to party, something like that, I'm not going to issue you a visa. Do not ever tell me what you think I want to hear. You don't know what I want to hear, okay? If you're telling me what you think I want to hear, then you're probably not going to get the visa. Just answer the questions. Tell me the truth, okay? If you've ever been convicted of a crime, you got to be upfront and honest with us. I'm going to tell you now, if you've been convicted, it's very tough to get a visa. But it also depends on what that was, when it was, what it was for, everything. But if you hide it from us, it will come to light. You won't get a visa. If you've been using drugs, I'm not sending you to America, okay? Because in America, we have far too easy access to drugs. If you've used them here, you're going to use them there. Save your money. Don't come in. I'm just being honest. Now, if you've overstayed your visa before, it's tough. But oftentimes with students, if you have an overstay on your record, it's because your parents or your grandparents took you to America and didn't let you leave. We don't hold your parents' issues against you, okay? So don't think just because you had an overstay when you were 6 years old that I'm not going to give you a visa. That wasn't your fault. We'll discuss that and we'll talk with you more. When you go to America, of course, passport, have to maintain it, keep it with you. You're going to have 3 copies of your I-20, okay? I'm telling you now, have 5 copies. Leave a copy here with family and relatives or friends who can have a copy and answer questions and send you a copy if you need it. Have 3 copies on your person in your carry-on bag, and have 1 in your check bag too, okay? You need all these copies. When you get to the border, you're going to show them the original I-20 and your passport to enter, and they'll let you in then. Also, there's a person called a DSO, which is your SEVIS officer, okay? Your SEVIS officer is your best friend. If they're not your best friend, make them so. You must maintain communication with your SEVIS officer, and I'll explain more about SEVIS in a moment, at all times. And you want to have their phone number with you when you enter America, because if you have problems at the border, call them. That's the person who can actually help. Now, if you show up at the border and you don't have everything handy, you're going to go to secondary. At a minimum, that means you're going to be stuck behind the scenes for 2 or 3 hours, bored out of your mind. At a maximum, that means you might get turned around at the border, and it's very expensive, okay? You're going to fill out a bunch of other documents, blah, blah, blah. If you're not granted entry, you will be, or probably will be, forced to return home. Now, I don't want you to make this sound scary. It happens, unfortunately. But again, listen to me. Be prepared. You'll be fine. Now, SEVIS is the most important thing right now. SEVIS is a system that we have in America. It's a web-based tool that we use to track students from foreign countries studying in America. You are required to maintain a certain grade point level. You are required to maintain a certain amount of classes, all this good stuff. But we track all international students, we monitor their progress, and then the schools are required to report back on your progress, okay? Now, why is this important? If you have a problem with SEVIS, it affects your visa, okay? Now, I tell you, it's important you know who your SEVIS officer is, because as soon as you start having problems with grades, talk to your SEVIS officer. As soon as you start having problems keeping a course load, talk to them. If you're having financial problems that's preventing you from going to school or class, talk to people, talk to them, get help, okay? They're there for you, and then there are also organizations within the schools that are there for you. Use them, okay? Once we identify a SEVIS violator, we have to ensure appropriate actions taken, and that can be everything from being forced to leave the country. It can be all kinds of things, denied entry, re-entry, that kind of thing, okay? So again, SEVIS is important. Make sure you understand it. And there's all kinds of information at studyinthestates.dhs.gov. How do you maintain your status? You enter no more than 30 days before your program begins. On your student visa, you enter, go do your vacation and everything before, as long as it's within 30 days, and then show up for school. As soon as you enter America, you notify your DSO, your designated school official, your SEVIS officer, and you let them know you're there. And then the first day you show up at school and you are going to classes, you contact them. I don't care if that's leaving them a voicemail, sending them email, whatever, and you say, I am going to class, okay? Once you're in America, you've got to attend all your classes. You have to pass all your classes. If you're having trouble in a class, who do you talk to? That's right. Some of you listened. You must maintain 12 hours credit every term. Do not work without permission. Who do you talk to find out how you get permission to work? There you go. Somebody's listening. I like this. Okay. Oh, by the way, is babysitting working? The answer is yes. Do you get money? Do you get a service? Do you get a benefit? It's working, okay? If you need money and you need to work, get permission. Simple as that. Now, if your DSO is unavailable, there's an email address that goes way over their head. I recommend you have that. If you have a DSO who's not responsive, not talking to you, please go over their head. Use this email. If you must drop a class, talk to them. If you will learn anything about school and university, sometimes it is better to drop a class than to fail a class. Actually, is it ever better not to do that? No, it's better to drop a class than to fail a class, okay? Work with your DSO. As long as you're working with them, they can work with you. If you change programs, in America, I read somewhere once that most students in America change programs at least 3 times in a 4-year degree. If that happens with you, just talk to them. It happens. We understand that. In Indonesia, we have a really smart group of people, and oftentimes what we see is we see kids who go to school at a community college for a couple years, and they get their basic courses out of the way at a more inexpensive program. And then for the last 2 years, they move to a more expensive, nicer school. That's smart. That's a nice, even if you have the money to pay for 4 years of school, if you can save your parents a lot of money for 2 years, do it. But if you do that and you change your school, again, SEVIS officer. Now, I have a lot of people who violate problems here or have issues here because they change schools, and as soon as they put in the change, they kind of start backing off their classes at the school they're at. You can't do that. When you change schools to maintain your SEVIS, you have to maintain grades and classes all the way up until the day you leave. And the day you show up at the new university, you have to have a full workload and you've got to work, okay? There's no break in there, not without talking to your DSO. If you travel outside the United States, always let your SEVIS officer know. It takes 3 to 5 business days for us to get you a visa. More often than not, when I'm reissuing a visa to a student and I can't do it in that time frame, it's simply because they left the country, didn't notify their DSO. The system essentially timed them out and created us problem. Now, I can fix this. It's just it takes an extra week to do this. Now, whenever you're returning to go back to school, you may not have that week. So talk to your officer. Tell them you're leaving the country. Most importantly, if you move, if you're no longer in the dorms and you've moved into a house, if you've changed houses, if you went somewhere else, notify them. They must be able to get a hold of you. If they send a letter to you and it gets returned to them, they may stop your SEVIS, okay? And then also, sometimes you need more time. We understand this. Sometimes you need an extra class. Sometimes you need an extra quarter. You must request this, okay? Do not assume because it's only one class and I'm going, you've got to request it. You've got to get permission. Don't just do it no matter what anyone else tells you. And then we talked about this briefly. If you're changing schools, you've got to stay at one, maintain your status at that school the entire time, all the way up until the last day you leave. And then you must start new at the new school. So again, transferring, you have to apply and be accepted before you can do anything else. Then you contact your DSO. You get written confirmation, you contact the new DSO, you make sure those two are coordinating, you make sure your SEVIS code is good for the new school, which it can be the same code. Again, the SEVIS coordinator will work with you, and then you're good. You're going to get a new I-20 from your new DSO, your new school. You will not have to come back to Indonesia and get a visa to do this, okay? As long as you're working with your SEVIS coordinator, you can stay in America and do all this. And then you're going to register. Now, can you work? What did I say? No, not without asking permission. All this stuff is a lot of crap. Fine, there's limitations, everything. I'm just telling you, yes, you can work. You must get permission, and there are requirements on how long you can work, what you must do. You're going to have an actual card. It's not going to be somebody saying, thank you, yeah, go ahead. Go work at McDonald's. It's okay. No, you'll have something in your hands, okay? If you work off campus, it is a violation. It can be a violation if you work on campus without getting permission. Now, when you finish school, you do not have to leave right away. We're proud of you. We're excited for you. You graduated. Take some time and enjoy America, okay? Don't take too much. You get 60 days. And at the 59-day mark, you had better be ready heading to the airport, okay? Listen, I issue a lot of work visas to people who go to school in America. And it's a fantastic opportunity. You go to school for 4 years, 6 years, even 8 years. You do something called OPT, and you're working, and you're getting experience. And then somebody wants to offer you a job. Or you come back here to Indonesia with this wonderful degree, and you're working now at this Indonesian company, and they say, you know what, you're great. We want you to go to America and work at our US branch. It happens a lot, and you can make a load of money doing this. But unfortunately, I've had to refuse a few of these, and I feel horrible doing it when I get a young married man coming in or a young married woman who has the opportunity to go to America, make a load of money for their family, and I look at their visa and I said, when you were studying in America, you used drugs. When you were studying in America, you overstayed your visa. You stayed 90 days instead of 60. All these little stupid things. You partied more than you studied and you got in trouble. And then you don't get a visa to go work in America. I'm simply saying, whatever happens, on your visa while you're in school in America will affect future applications. Please take it seriously. We talk to our kids in America all the time about partying in school and not taking it seriously. But in your case, the repercussions could be really massive, okay? So H-1B, L-2, there's a whole bunch of visas you can use to work in America. Now, how long can you stay in America? It's based on your program, not on anything else, your program, okay? A student visa is only good for up to the end of your program or 5 years, whichever is longer at the time we issue your visa, okay? Now, again, your visa is only a problem if you're out of the country trying to go into America. The visa gets you in. If you go in on a visa that's good for 6 months and then you stay a year doing your program, it's not a problem, okay? Your visa expired. All that means is when you leave the country, you have to get a new visa to go back. So your visa is expiring soon. Can you enter? Yes, you can enter on the last day that visa is good. If a visa expires on 26th of May and you arrive on a plane on the 26th of May, you can enter the country, okay? Simple as that. If you're in the US, it expires, maintain your student status. You don't have a problem. Make sense? Okay. These are some of the things we see. Shoplifting. Listen, somebody takes a stick of gum and they get caught. It is a minor deal, but that stick of gum can cost you a job that's willing to pay you $100,000 US dollars a year in the future. Drug use, drinking and driving. We see this all the time. Overstaying your visa. I just cannot tell you enough. If you drop out of school, you don't have 60 days to leave, okay? You have to be gone. So if you decide school's not for you, you drop out, then leave. Do not go touring around America then. If you graduate, you have up to 60 days. If you drop out, you don't have any time. And then, of course, we've got some wonderful, useful websites here. Please use these. There are more out there. And I'm going to tell you now, there's a lot of websites out there that are offering these services before you pay anybody else for your services. And by the way, I'm not discrediting the education services we have here in Indonesia. They have some really good programs that help you guys, and some of them are here today. But before you use any outside service, go to these sites. Make sure you understand what you can do yourself, okay? You may still decide to use that service. It can be a benefit. But these are here for you, okay? And then, like I said, congratulations. If I issued you a visa, please come say hi to me. I am going to stick around, and we're having a talk here in a few minutes. I still have 6 minutes. I could just stand up here and talk all day now, right? So does anybody have any questions that might be good for the entire crowd? If you have a question or a fear, you may not be the only one. And it doesn't have to be necessarily about visas. It can be about other things while I'm here. Any questions? It is bright. Let's go right here first. Sorry, I'll come back to you. I want to talk to you. Yes?
Okay, thank you very much. One question in relation to the visa. I already got I-20 forms, but at the time I already got the I-20. My passport was expired, so I renew my passport now. So it will be impact the form, the I-20 or not? Do I need to ask the new I-20 or not? Thank
no,
you.
did you, the I-20 is for your start date. And if you miss your start date, we have a little flexibility because sometimes they're able to alter a week or two depending on the university and what programs they do. So as long as it doesn't change your program significantly, you're still in that school, you're probably fine. If it does change, if you're actually starting at a different semester, then you probably need a new I-20. But if that's the case, you also have time, okay? So the new I-20, again, if your program starts in a week, but you're able to tell me that they're allowing you to come a week late because it's just orientation that they can do later, I'm okay with that, okay? But if you come in and your program started 2 weeks ago and you show up now, you're going to have to explain to me how that happened and why they're still going to take you, okay? So sometimes a new I-20 is needed, and the schools should know when that is.
Okay, so in my case, I already got the I-20 now.
When does your program start?
on August.
Yeah, you're fine.
So it's fine.
Nope,
Okay.
no problem.
Thank you.
Yep. Yes, sir.
If on-campus work has been approved, must it be related to your academic work, or can it be any work like McDonald's?
If the work is approved on campus, no, it does not have to be related to your academic work. And OPT always has to be related to your academic work.
That was the second question.
Yes, OPT is optional practical training, I think, right? And OPT is once you get your degree, you can actually work, but work on your student visa essentially for a year. It's kind of like a paid internship. It's wonderful experience. Oftentimes people come back to Indonesia after this, and many times they're offered a job and they come back to Indonesia just to get a better visa. So yes, when working on campus, it's strictly for like paying off your student loans or paying for classes or helping with things. No, usually if you get permission to work on campus, it's at the library, it's at the store, it's in the cafeteria. It doesn't have anything to do with your program. And you can even request to work at McDonald's or Target or Walmart. You shouldn't work at Walmart, but you can request to work at any of those places. I can't say you'll get approved, but if you have a good reason, you're needing it for whatever, you may be approved that too. It's the OPT is the only one, the one that's done after you graduate is required to be associated with your degree. Good questions. Somebody over here has a question? Yes, sir.
First of all, thank you for the presentation, sir. Actually, continuing the question from Mr. Adrian, what are the steps should I take to take the OPT besides, telling the TSO or service officer?
So occasionally, especially if you're doing like a master's program, OPT is actually approved ahead of time because depending on your field of work, the school may already have companies lined up for this, okay? For bachelors, not so much. Usually what happens with bachelors, in my experience, and again, I'm the visa guy, I talk to people after the fact, but usually what happens is I'm interviewing them for another visa, I see they had OPT, and I can see in their system in SEVIS that at some point in their senior year, they requested OPT. And when I ask them about it, it's usually because one of the professors or one of their instructors or even a recruiter from a company has come to the school and recruited them, or the instructor suggested they do this, okay? So they request OPT. On a rare occasion, I see them request OPT, get approved for OPT, and then not work because sometimes they get an opportunity in Indonesia, of course. So OPT is usually an opportunity that comes to you. So once you're in school for a couple years, you'll probably see what I'm talking about. You'll probably see job fairs, career fairs. You'll probably see instructors kind of mentioning things to you. This is important where you're part of organizations within these schools, these student organizations. This is where a lot of these opportunities kind of present themselves. So be familiar with these organizations. And then I was mentioning earlier, parents, you can't live with them. Moms, I'm telling you now, they can wash their own clothes. They will get food, don't worry. But students, you need to make sure your parents know that you understand that these organizations are there. So the first month you're in school, look for these organizations. There are organizations to help you if you have trouble with your phone bill. I'm not saying they'll pay it. They'll help you explain, understand, and figure out. If you have problems eating, maybe you're down to like ramen noodles every day, which in this culture is not too bad. But if that's the case and you need help with food, there are programs, organizations who can help you. So make sure your mom knows this, okay? And use them. They're there for you. Anything else? Well, my time is about to run out. We're going to do the group, we're going to continue with questions, answers in a wider variety here in a few minutes. And then I'm going to stick around. So I'll be around for the next couple hours. Anybody who wants to talk to me, especially if I issued a visa, come say hi. And we'll talk, okay? Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Trent. Actually, I don't want Trent to go away, so please take a seat. We want you to keep answering questions because I believe that we're going to have a lot of questions. You guys have a lot of questions about visa. So I would also like to invite the other panelists, so Redha and Adrian Rodgers and the Ohio State team. please come up to the stage. And so we are now on the discussion session. So please ask a lot of questions. Please wait for the mic. If you already got accepted, please mention your name and where you're going so then we know. So all right, let's just start. Also with Medan, if kalau kalian ada pertanyaan, boleh banget. We are here. So please just let us know if you have any question and then we're going to give it to you guys. Okay. All right. Any questions so far? Any follow-up? Did you hear that? He said if you don't ask question, he will ask you question. Any questions? So we have an alumni. We got 2 alumni here. We got 1 professor and we got current student. We got 1 from the visa. So it's like the whole package here on this stage. Okay, mbaknya yang di belakang sebentar. Please mention your name and where you're going.
Yeah, hi, Dila, University of Minnesota, Computer Science. It's actually a visa-related question. So, yeah, so I heard that after the OPT, if I want to convert the visa status to H1, then I need to get sponsorship from the company. So the company must be willing to sponsor some kind of thing to my visa status.
Yes, the way it works is you do OPT, you work for a year, the company usually likes what you're doing, and they either have an opening full-time or they have a partner company that does, and then they offer you a position. And I'll tell you right now, when it comes to the H-1B visas, the L-2 visas, all the different H-2B, the different visas out there, these companies know more about it than I do, okay? So just understand that in order to work in America, you must have approval, documentation from Department of Homeland Security, and when these companies are doing it, you're going to have a piece of paper in your hand, okay? I have seen occasionally where some of the smaller companies try to get permission and fail, but you've been working for them for 3 or 4 months, then it's a problem for you, okay? So no, you have the permission and then you work. And again, the companies will be able to help you with this. And if you're still in university, the universities are going to be able to help you with this, okay? Just keep in mind, we all want you to work and live and do all this in America. So come see us, let us help you.
So I have a question, Trent. How about the timing between OPT and an H-1B?
He's asking about the timing. What I usually see with H-1Bs, I see somebody who is on OPT, they actually get permission from DHS, they have the documents, and they start to work under their H-1B long before they have the visa. Then they come back to Indonesia because they're coming back to visit family. They come see me. I issue them the H-1B visa, okay? So keep in mind, when we say visa, that's only getting you access to America. That's Department of State. Department of Homeland Security and CBP, they're the ones that offer you permission to work. That's the petitions and so forth, okay? So there is no lag necessarily. I have seen some lag. Sometimes people ask for it. They come back to Indonesia and they stay with their family for a month or 2 waiting on their petition, but usually it's seamless.
All right. Any other question? Yes, mbaknya yang depan.
Thank you. My name is Asri, and I will study public policy in Minnesota University. I got the visa. This is a fellowship program, so the visa is for 1 year. I got the visa from 1 June to 12 June 2020. But my visa just only 12 May 2020. So will be a problem or what?
No problem. Again, the visa gets you into the country. Once you're in and your program's valid, don't worry about it. You're good. As long as you maintain your status. The only time that'll come into play is if you decide to go home to visit family before your program's over and your visa's expired, you will need to make sure you plan time, about a week, in order to come in, see us, and get your new visa so you can return to America. Yeah, won't be a problem.
All right. Any other question? Medan, how are you doing? You lost them? Oh, no, they're actually behind us. Any question from Medan? None so far? All right.
I don't think so, yeah.
Okay, so very good.
It looks like that young lady in the front has a question, though. She's leaning forward, wants to talk. Oh, there we go. That'll work.
Sorry, we
You're
can't.
speaking really quietly.
We can't hear the. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a question. It's just hi to some Fulbrighters in the room. Yeah.
All right. Do you have any Fulbright in the room? Yay. Okay, we actually have Fulbright team here as well.
We are having a cold fit right now, so this is the way to relax a bit.
Okay. All right. Any other question? Yes.
Okay, my name is Faisal. I will study Master of Computer Science at University of Central Florida. Nowadays, there's a lot of online freelancing website, and I usually get work from there. And is it legal if we as student work there? Or should I get permission before I work on online platform like that? Thank you.
All right, Trent. Hard question.
So you're into a huge gray area. You're talking about online freelancing. If you are freelancing online for companies here in Indonesia, you may be able to get away with that. But I'm going to tell you, it's going to be very difficult to explain that to the Border Patrol people. I would say if you're working and receiving funds in any way, shape, or form, you should at least ask permission. That's my thought. It's really a gray area. In theory, if you're making your money from outside Indonesia, that you could probably get away with it. But that's going to be real hard to prove, real hard to follow. You're asking for trouble there. So.
All right. Any other question? Maybe not related to visa just yet.
Okay, I'm going to mention something. I talk to you guys all the time, and I know there are people here who are scared to death about what it's like on campus. There are people here who are scared about what the food's going to taste like and what Muslim, how are Muslims going to be treated. They're going to say, what's the hijab like there? Nobody is asking these questions, and these are the people who can answer those questions, okay? And I'm telling you that everybody has these questions. So somebody speak up. Ask questions that you're concerned with.
Totally agree. So, anybody? Yes?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the time. My name is Reno. I'm going to Columbia University. I have a question about housing. As you mentioned earlier, that off-campus housing is most likely be cheaper than the on-campus housing. Sorry, I got mixed up. And my question is there any barrier for us, international students, to apply for off-campus housing? In a way, I mean, like, from what I heard and what I read, we have to provide a fund like 40 times of rent, something like that, and a lot of Indonesian students are actually subletting the house that they rent. Is it legal to sublet? And if we got caught up into some illegal situation, how do we resolve it? Thank you.
Okay, about the housing, I think one thing to remember, a lot of people who got accepted to housing in the United States, they have social security number. Well, you don't. So it's important to have some fund, usually a month's rent of housing available. So in case they say, do you have social security number? You said, I'm international students, I don't have social security number. Is it possible for me to put a security deposit? If they are very familiar with international students, especially nearby campus, they are acceptable of that. About the subletting things, you have to check with actually not the leaseholder, but maybe you check with your apartment manager if that is allowed. Your your subletters may got into trouble, then you got in trouble because then you can get evicted. So be very careful about that. I mean, I know a lot of Indonesian students just simply like Airbnb, right? I just Airbnb the place, but Airbnbs in some places are not legal. So before you commit any crimes or any kind of fraud like that, double check with your apartment manager. Hey, so-and-so is subletting the apartment. Is this allowed? Because you could get into a gray area and you could get into legal trouble because of that. So, yeah.
So if I may make a conclusion, so the 40 times 40, the deposit, the security deposit is just 1 month. Right?
It depends on it depends on the apartment, right? So you live in Columbia University, so New York rent is very expensive, and so I'm not sure what the housing circumstances over there. So the best way to do it with housing, research early. So if you have somebody who is sublet, find out, just go to like apartments nearby there. Okay, if I'm international students, what do you need from me? Can I put on a list as a roommate? So there are many options you can do. You can rent the entire apartment. You can be a roommate, so you rent a room. So there's a lot of apartments that offer that. And but research early so that at least you know how much money you need to bring in order for you to put in the security deposit and everything else. So,
all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I would just add a couple of things. So a lot of universities provide, maybe it's not free legal help, but it's sort of friendly advice based on, a lot of practices and things like that. And I'm very sure that one of the #1 questions they get is about renting, right? So I would probably use that resource. I think that would be really helpful. And then the second thing, maybe for students who are not well-traveled, that maybe this is their first trip, to the Americas, using housing on campus can be really helpful, just because you've got your accommodations usually on the first day. Whereas if you're trying to go there and then arrange accommodations, that could take some time to do. However, in my experience, my friend just yesterday rented a house in Indonesia, and she's Indonesian and paid the entire year's rent up front, right? Which is how we do it in Jakarta. But usually in the US, it's more typical to put down 1 month damage deposit and 1 month rent, or maybe 6 weeks or 8 weeks damage deposit and 1 month rent. So I think generally speaking, rentals in America might be a little bit more economical or economically feasible than in Indonesia.
Actually, just curious about housing is one of the questions that we here at EducationUSA received a lot. So anybody else still in the process of looking for housing? Wow, we actually have plenty. Another tips that we can share is check with the Facebook page of that of the university. So usually they have kind of like a forum or like a chat room where other incoming students all over the world, or even from the US themselves, actually looking for a housemate. So is there anybody?
The other thing I'd say, remembering when I was a foreign student moving to the US, I would say all of the places you checked and said, no, we can't take you, check again. Just keep checking. I got my first apartment on campus when I rechecked the month before, and they said, oh yeah, there are all these people not coming now. So I've been checking a year before, 6 months before, 3 months before, cannot. But 1 month before, all of a sudden, there are all these cancellations. I got my first on-campus job as a research assistant in the same way. I was there walking around going, is there the opportunity for employment? And the week before, after people had lined things up for a year in advance, the week before, they said, oh, somebody just canceled. They're not coming back from Korea. You want it? Yeah. It includes full tuition waiver and $800 a month salary. I want it. So keep asking, right? Make friends.
Anyone else want to add something, probably from the panelists, about your finding housing experience?
Probably just, you have the Permias Facebook page, talk to them, they know better. And then do not ask for a lot of fancy things, it's just a new beginning for you. So just take that really, you know, decent place. And then you figure out after you're there, and then you can move, then you know the area already, so you can, you know, elevate new living and after you've, you know, you be there. So just make use of that Facebook page, Permias and so on. They will help you with a lot of things.
Yep, and also another thing, especially if you're going to a university that you know, have relatively, you know, a number of Indonesian students studying there, we can also share with you. So for example, we already have a good number of people who are leaving from the US back to Indonesia. So probably, you know, they're also looking for someone who wants to kind of like continue the rent, right? So feel free to talk to me about it at the end of the event, and we'll be happy to look at our database who are basically going, because sometimes they're back in June, so it's like a perfect timing also. All right. Okay, any other question? Ya, Mas yang pakai kaos hitam, ditunggu sebentar mic-nya.
Hello, good evening. My name is Rizky and I'm going to Columbia University. I'd like to ask about, like probably some of us, probably most of us got into school through scholarship program, right? So I'd like to ask about, do we have to file a tax return because the fund is from our country, not from the United States? So any thought of that? Thank you.
Redha? Sorry.
I don't think you have to. As far as I'm concerned, as long as you're not earning an income, because this is a funding for your school, right? If you're earning an income, you work on campus, then you have to file a tax return. And sometimes you can get money back because I think under IRS, they have about 3,500 tax exempt for your earned income. So a lot of like my friends or my sister who were research assistant, and at the end of February, they become so rich because they got $800 back from IRS. But as far as I'm concerned, you don't have to. Your best resource is the International Student Office. So ask your immigration counselor whether you have to report or not. So always ask them for any questions like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so Trent earlier on the slides mentioned DSO is your new best friend. So the International Students Office is also your new best friend. So if you have any questions about how to get SSN, I want to work, I need to get an SSN, ask them questions. So, all right, any other question so far? We also talk about OPT a lot earlier. Actually, just last week here at America, we covered that topic, OPT and CPT. So if you want to know more about it, I'll be happy to either create another event specifically on that topic, or we can also share the PowerPoint on that as well. Okay, any other question? Udah mulai capek kayaknya, waiting for the buka puasa. Yes.
Sorry, me again. So basically, I want to ask, maybe it's university specific, but do you have any like the most effective way to look for TA-ship or RI-ship? Maybe like other than the university portals, or I don't know.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
The effective ways to look for TA-ship or RI-ship.
Oh, the research assistant?
Yes.
Okay.
can
Adrian and
answer that, yeah.
All right, so the universities offer different kinds of assistantships. Most universities think about them in three ways: teaching assistantships, research assistantships, and administrative assistantships. And then there are limits on the number of hours that you can work, usually 20 hours a week, which would be 50%. Some assistantships might be half that, 10 hours a week. Some assistantships could be more, especially in the summer when school's not in session. But you would check with your DSO about what the limits are. A research assistantship often involves you working in a lab or with a team of faculty and other graduate students, or it might involve you working with one particular faculty member. So these are very hard to come by because the faculty are reluctant to work with somebody who they have not met personally. It might be more likely that you would get an assistantship in the second year or third year of a master's study or a PhD study. It would be exceptionally rare. I'd never heard of an assistantship at the bachelor's level. Generally, if we were going to hire a bachelor student, it would be as an hourly employee. Because the assistantship gives some extra benefits. There may be a tuition waiver, which might be partial or a full tuition waiver. And there might be an additional salary, which could be, you know, $1,000 a month or more. So assistantships are highly coveted. Also, universities sometimes use assistantships for students who are in their second or third year or their fourth year and who are running out of money. So for example, Fulbright in Indonesia is 3 years for the PhD program. And so if you needed 3.5 years, then a way that the university can bridge that additional 6 months would be through an assistantship. So they're highly coveted, highly sought. And you know, if you got an assistantship in your first year, congratulations, that's extremely impressive. The research assistantships will be doing work with the faculty members. The administrative assistantships might be doing different kinds of paper or office work for which you would be trained. So those assistantships tend to have sort of set hours. And you would work with your faculty member to set a schedule. It might be 9 to 1 every day. Or if you have classes Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning, it might be Tuesday, Thursday morning, and some afternoons. Something like that. Some assistantships could require you to be working over the weekend. I mean, if there's a lab, you know, somebody has to feed the other primates. So you need to be there, right? Or perhaps even overnight or something for some scientific experiment. The teaching assistantships are a little bit different because you would be, you know, teaching maybe 2 classes, which together might be a total of 6 hours of contact time, but then there's a lot of work outside the class, meeting with the faculty member to think about what is taught, grading the papers, and so on. And the idea would be that all of that work together would total 20 hours. If you're looking for an assistantship, perhaps by now you have already asked faculty members in your program about them, but then on arrival, I would even say on arrival in the first couple of weeks, you could be prior to the start of class, you could keep asking because people no-show, people discontinue their programs, people get sick, people take leaves from the programs for 6 months or a year or something. So it never hurts to ask. Another good question, and the way I found my assistantship, is to say, is there anyone else I could talk to? Are there other faculty members that you would recommend that I speak with? And somebody mentioned a name, and I went, and I happened to be very lucky and found that person in their office, and he had just gotten the news that another international student wasn't coming back. So that's how I got my assistantship. I was qualified by being in the right place at the right time. So social networking can really help. And then, you know, really working hard to impress your faculty members in your first year so that when consideration by the faculty comes up, you know, in February and March about what are the staffing requirements and assistantship requirements for the following year, they are likely to recommend you. Some assistantships, so I work in teaching, right? And we train teachers to work primarily in American schools. So international students are at a disadvantage because they don't know the American school setting well. And there could be other majors where local cultural knowledge is extremely important. So taking advantage of mentoring programs in the first year, that might help build that understanding. So that, and maybe you have to do that for free, you know, they don't pay you for that. And then in the second year, because you have that cultural knowledge, then you might be able to be, you know, you might be a viable assistant to work in the local culture, okay?
So Adrian, I actually have a question. Do you know if this type of assistantship also available for the undergrad student?
Right, so usually with an undergraduate student, it would be an hourly position, and it might be 10 hours a week or 20 hours a week. The amounts that we often see for hourly workers are probably $10 an hour, which is not a lot. Maybe in New York, it's going to be more, right? Because bigger cities, you know, they pay more. But you know, the work experience that you would get, the social network contacts that you create, you know, people doing a bachelor's degree in business in America and coming back to Indonesia, you know, to have a network of other students with similar majors, perhaps in the US or other countries, that could be a very valuable network for you. So even if, you know, even if you happen to have the good fortune to come from a very wealthy family and really $10 you know, an hour is not that much for you, think about all of the advantages that might come through working in a position like that. Of course, such work must be approved right? But you know, if it's directly related to your academic work, I think there are a lot of advantages.
Is it something that you also did back when you were still in college?
So usually they give you a citizenship prior to the program if you're a graduate student. There are some cases when you may not be offered a citizenship. That's where you have to look around. And then universities have administrative bodies such as the graduate school, the Office of Diversity. You want to ask about them to ask if they have any administrative assistantship, because they still come with the tuition benefits and waivers. And then usually with those assistantship position, they stay much longer, while program assistantship position usually lasts for 3 years, and after that, you know, you have to give it to the new batch of students. So definitely ask around, have a thick face and say, hey, my name is blah, blah, blah. I'm interested in assistantship. Do you have anything available? And as Arnold said, social networking is very important. So ask the right questions to the right people. They may give you the opportunities.
All right. Any other question? Yes. Yang di belakang? Baik, ya.
Hi everyone, I'm Anjani. I got acceptance from MIT. So I will be going next August. I will apply for J1 visa as exchange visitor. I want to know from you, is it right if every time I come back to Indonesia to visit my family, I need to renew my visa? Yeah.
So the J1 visa is very similar to the F1, which most of you are getting, with a few exceptions. The J1 visa, if you come back annually, then yes, you'll renew every single time. But you can actually renew using the interview waiver program if you're still in the same program, don't have to change anything. So it can go pretty quick. Something I didn't mention, one of the big differences with J1s is you are subject to something called 212E. Now, 212E means if you go to America on a J1 visa and you go to school, it could be a 2-week class, it could be a 5-year degree. When you come back, you're required to come back to Indonesia, and you're required to work in Indonesia for up to 2 years before you can immigrate to America. So if you're going to J1, you're going to have different set of circumstances if you want to work in America. Waivers, things like this. So the F visa, that's what we're primarily talking about today. The J visa has a little bit different, but essentially to answer your question is, if you come back to Indonesia every year, then yes, you would need to renew.
And it will expire every 1 year, right?
1 year.
Okay, and I have second question. It's about life at campus for Muslim student. So I might ask for the Muslim student from Ohio. I'm quite nervous. This is the first time I will be going to America. Is it difficult to find a prayer room and to manage 5 times a day praying during the class? So can you share your experience as? Yes, thank you.
Being a Muslim in America, I've learned, and being a Muslim in Indonesia is completely different. It is so much easier here, alhamdulillah, because one thing that I found that I just loved was that everywhere I go in Indonesia, there's a mushallah, you can hear the adhan, everybody stops, you don't have to explain yourself, anything. You honestly will find it very difficult, but that's up to you to set aside your prayer times. You might have to excuse yourself. Depending on your university, I know my university, there's very limited prayer spaces on a huge campus. It's something that, being part of the Office of Student Life, that we have been trying to fight for more prayer spaces, but honestly, you probably won't find it. So you might have to I find myself sometimes after studying in the library, finding a corner in the bookshelves and praying my Dohad, Asad, but you just have to try to feel comfortable. Don't be shy. Pray your prayers, and just keep track of it on your own time.
I also do recommend, MIT is a big school, so you should have a Muslim Student Association at your school. I know OSU does have one, and I definitely recommend joining. It's where you'll find a bunch of Muslims that you can go ahead and socialize with and are compatible with and go through the same understandings and struggles as well. So I definitely recommend joining the Muslim Student Association, and you should be fine.
And if I could, I am not Muslim, surprisingly. I will tell you that one reason we love in Consular, you all going to America, is we want you to share your culture with Americans. Americans, honestly, as big as America is, we're isolated. Most Americans don't travel, don't get out, don't see the world, okay? I want you to go there as a Muslim, Indonesian Christian, whatever. I want you to go there and share not just the Indonesian culture, but your religious culture as well. So don't be afraid, like they said, get with the Muslim organizations and be yourself, okay? And I will just say one more thing, is it is not right ever for anyone, anywhere, especially in America, to criticize you or put you down or give you problems because you're a Muslim. Do not take it, do not accept it. Go to these organizations, go to your teachers, get help if it's happening. It's not right. And unfortunately, I see this in international students who go to these schools and they don't feel like they should say anything. No, please, you must. You are allowed to be there. You should be there. We want you there. You've earned your place there. So don't take that. Get help, okay? And I honestly think it's getting better. And I think they'll tell you it has a long way to go yet. But you're part of the solution, okay? You're part of what's going to make it better. So keep at it.
So I would just add to encourage you to state your needs. So for example, I was working with a doctoral student from Aceh, my advisee, and the 3 or 4 faculty members working with him always seemed to have a time to be able to meet with him on Friday between 11 and 1. So we would tend to put meetings with him on Friday around 11 or 12 o'clock. Now, as somebody who's traveled to Indonesia 47 times, I should know that that's not a good idea, right? And I usually did. I usually caught it and said, no, that time's not going to work for Fearman. But every now and again, I would forget. So, you know, he would gently and kindly remind me that that's prayer time for him. That's the one time he can't make, right? And so it may be that with prayer or other things that you might need, Ramadan fasting or what have you, that you might need to gently remind your faculty members or team colleagues that there are certain things that you need. And you might need to say it more than once, just because we're into a pattern of thinking that causes us to think a particular way, and then you're sharing, you know, your culture. We have to retrain the way that we think, right? So, but you guys studied that at MIT, don't you? Organizational behavior, right? So this will be a great organizational experiment for you. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually to add what Trent mentioned earlier, get help, because it's not really common here for people to go to like a counseling service, right? Like to meet like a psychologist or something like that. But be mindful that actually almost in every universities in the US, they do have a counseling service. Maybe you feel weird at first, but they are there. So we talk about homesickness, culture shock. It will get tough. For some people, it will get tough. So if that happens to you, you're not alone. Don't keep it to yourself. Definitely get help. So probably if any of you have an experience in using the counseling service, or do you know anything about, maybe you know someone else who uses the service, or?
Yeah, I mean, you can use counseling service. I mean, it's specific to, like, as a Muslim, you know, definitely if it's sort of about, if you agree about the law, you can always ask the police, you know. So I've used that a couple of times, interestingly. But also understand, I think United States law protects freedom of expression of religion. Also, there is a freedom of expression. So there are some areas in university where, you know, they may have some controversial posters or preacher or whatever. It's their right to be there, and you just have to respect their rights. They also should respect your rights. So that's basic.
But then also, like, the US is pretty big. At the end of the day, the majority of Americans are very, very welcome to everyone, right? Especially the US campuses. They always value diversity. Is there anyone else who wants to add? Yep.
Yeah, and unlike Indonesia and like Jakarta, you have to constantly explain yourself in the United States. So I know like during like Eid and like Ramadan, definitely like email your teachers and professors and let them know like I have like a religious holiday, I won't be in class. Yeah, and also make sure you like find like a local mosque and like integrate into the like Muslim community within whatever like university and state you end up going to.
I was going to add about the counseling service, having supported and helped a number of students, some of whom were international and some of whom were Indonesian. Students are very reluctant sometimes to find counseling and support. They feel it would be admitting that they are broken somehow. So what I have done is found it very helpful to say to them, you have paid for a service, but you haven't had a chance to take advantage of the service. So here's an opportunity to take advantage of this very helpful service that you've already paid for. So I encourage people to go to see counseling in that way. The second thing is students sometimes feel, oh, there's something like wrong with my head if I say that I go to see the counselor. But you know, counselors, sure, they do emotional health support, but they also do things like helping you plan your day, helping you plan study, how to study, how to work with a difficult teammate on a particular project. So they have many, many kinds of services and supports that you may not have experienced before. So if you're stressed by some particular event, then I would encourage you to go and see this service that you paid for.
All right, any other question? Yes, masnya yang pakai baju putih ya.
Hi, so my name is Nicholas and I'm here as a +1 for my friend. I have a question. It's like more to the cultural side. Like for the international students, have you ever like get treated differently as like international students? Because from what I experienced when I studied in Europe, although I'm an international student in my university, I kind of was like the students aren't that really like welcoming like for me because you know like I'm not from there. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Well, from a student perspective, I see that a lot, but from our side, it's more likely like the international students I see stick together and they don't really integrate with the rest of the student body. So we just assume that like, oh, maybe they just don't want to talk to us. But I think it's like we don't want to make the first step and you guys don't want to make the first step. But I think once you get a conversation started or like join a club and meet that one person, it could really transform it for you.
I know. Yeah, it is me. Probably it's both sides, yeah. We feel awkward between each other, like, is it okay to talk to you? And the other side also feel the same. So no one gets into conversation or whatsoever. Yeah, it's just that thing, the odd thing probably. But actually, if you build this, start saying hi, more often, people will understand, oh, she's all right. She's actually, approachable. That's the word, probably. Yeah, I think it can start from you. Probably, I think it's both way, yeah. They probably want to say hi to you, want to start conversing with you, but they feel like probably this is not right. Will they be okay with my way of communication? Probably because we have different topics probably to talk about. It's just the awkwardness probably. You need to break that down. That's for me. I don't know.
And usually it get worse when you happen to be in a university where there are a lot of Indonesian students, because especially if this is your first time being there, when you get there, although right now you probably will say, no, I'm not going to hang out with Indonesian students, I'm going to hang out with the other international students and with the Americans. But when you get there, you will find the fact that there are other Indonesians, you will feel like home. So based on my experience, at least for the first year, I totally just like hang out with them to the point where I started to think, what am I doing? I'm in the US. I don't just to get here, just to get the degree, but the whole experience. So you definitely do not want to miss that. So then after that, I would, just like what Triana said on the slides before on the presentation, talking about like the American culture, you can just start by, just saying hi, right? And usually like in a classroom as well, if you happen to have like the number of Americans in there or other international students from different countries, you start a conversation from there, right? So what is your major? Where are you taking this class and stuff like that? So.
And if I may, I have literally adjudicated tens of thousands of visas. And I can remember three people who married an American they met in school years before. I can't tell you how many Indonesian couples went all the way to America to meet the love of their life, an Indonesian person. I seriously can't tell you. And it kind of supports this. I'm going to tell you right now that you will be treated differently. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not saying that's good. You're different. You're different from them, okay? Don't stress so much about that. Be excited about this gorgeous, wonderful country you're from. Very interesting country you're from. Share this, what you know. Don't be afraid to talk to people. Americans can be a little nervous around you, so we blather. Just understand. We don't necessarily mean everything we say the first time you meet us. Also, sarcasm. Oh, learn sarcasm, okay? I'm telling you, we have it. I can't even tell you. Don't take it as an insult. Learn what sarcasm is. And then also, when you're in groups with Indonesians, you see this with Indonesian students. You see this with students from Africa, with students from Europe, everywhere. When you're in groups, you start to migrate back to your home language. Think about it from the other side. American walking by, hearing a group of you speaking Indonesian. Well, how do you feel if you walk by a group of Americans speaking English in an Indonesian area? It's awkward, okay? So again, I've heard some amazing English in here. I'm from the South in America. Saya lahir dan besar di Amerika Serikat Selatan. Yeah, kami orang gila. And some of you speak English better than me. But understand the best way to get all the nuances down of English is simply to speak it when you're in America and speak with other Americans. So, just my 2 cents.
Adding on to that, you're not alone. Me and Asha, we're a part of we're a Somali community in Columbus, Ohio, and there's a Somali student association at school, and we find ourselves hanging out with them a lot because you feel like nobody understands you more than your own people, which is very fair, but we do get those awkward stares when we walk in 10 deep together into a meeting or a function. And I guess it may come across as a little intimidating, and you give off the unapproachable vibe. So don't be that's what everybody else is probably thinking. You're thinking, why aren't they talking to me? But if you stand back and look, we're all speaking Somali instead of English, and it's just we're laughing. They want to know what's so funny. Yeah, it's just I've definitely done that a lot of times. But then it's also important to get involved and have your other friend groups from different organizations or people from class. So it's definitely enjoyable that I can go hang out with my Somali friends, then go hang out with my friends from this org or the girl from class, and just have your different niches of people, I guess.
Actually, I haven't heard from Luke. Is there anything that you want to add to this conversation about culture? You're just listening.
Yeah, it's I would just say, I agree with what they've been saying. Being a American student, I noticed that I don't really talk to international students very much, and I think it's just for the reasons that you guys have been talking about. It's just they're speaking a different language. Their culture is very, very different to mine, and I don't understand it. And likewise, they just don't really understand my culture, and they don't, that sort of thing. So it can be tough, but you just have to make sure you're joining organizations and clubs and really putting yourself out there and getting to know the students, because you might meet some really great people that way. So.
All right, thanks. Any other question? Okay, Mas.
So I have a rather technical question. My name is Eki, incoming student at the Harvard Kennedy School. So I had a social security number when I did my undergrad in the US a few years ago. I'm just wondering if the SSN is still valid, or do I need to reapply? Thank you.
Your SSN never goes away.
Okay, thank
It's
you.
assigned to you and even to death. So,
got it. Thank you so much.
Actually, I have questions for that. Do you happen to know what happens if you actually lose your SSN number? Can you?
yeah, you go to any Social Security office and you can request a new one. It's a card that they give you that, and honestly, in America, 99% of Americans have no idea where it is. It's a number. The number is what's important. You need to remember that number. Don't share it with people. You know.
Is it going to be a problem if you don't have the number with you anymore?
I'm going to tell you, you should honestly memorize it. Okay, and we all have phones now. Create a little folder, stick it on there, call it a phone number in your contact list, and don't tell anybody differently. Something, but if you're working in America, you need that number. It's important. Different services may want and or require it at times. It does make things easier if you have it. The card doesn't do anything for you. If you pull the card out and hand it to somebody, they're going to look at you like, why are you giving me your Social Security card? I asked you what your Social Security number was. Because in America, you're expected to know it. So.
Another thing about that number is, like if you call the phone company to fix something on your phone, they sometimes verify your identity by asking you the last 4 digits of your Social Security number. So.
And actually, they're changing it to the last 5.
Okay, yeah, so it's a really important number. Not unlike your national IDs, right? That's an extremely important card here. So that the Social Security number fulfills the same function.
All right, any other question? Ya, Mbak yang di depan. Sebentar, tunggu mic-nya.
Thank you. My name is Ricky. Accepted to the Johns Hopkins University. My question related to the insurance requirement for F1 visa. Should it cover the entire time we are in the U.S. as the student, or is there any possibility to have a gap? So the situation is, my school already provide me with the insurance, but it will be started on 15 August, but I need to be in the US for the preterm class at the end of July. So there will be 2 weeks of time that will not be covered by any insurance. Will it be a bit of problem for my visa or not? Thank you.
So about the student health insurance, I think it's compulsory when the I-20 start date is, if I'm not mistaken. And then until whenever its semester ends. So every semester you're enrolled, you need to have a health insurance. The health insurance I have is you purchase it from school, the school provided. So in regard to your questions, probably those 2 weeks, right, prior, I think if you buy travel insurance from Indonesia, you can cover that. And then when the period started for your semester begins, then you will just use your student health insurance. So there'll be different coverages and then access. So just want to make sure when you buy travel insurance, okay, what does it cover? Does it cover, for example, access to my school Purdue Student Health Center or something like that? Because that will be much more convenient for you instead of going to a hospital or quick care. So yeah, the travel insurance you buy from here should be able to cover it, and then your student health insurance will take over when your official I-20 begins.
All right.
And as far as the visa is concerned, we're only looking at the period of your school. If you have insurance during that period, that's all that's required. So, for your visa.
Any other question from this side, probably? Yes, di belakang.
Hi everyone, my name is Rima. I'll be starting my program in Columbia University this fall, and I have a question regarding housing. Like last week, I had a friend in Columbia, and he helped me to see this agent and did the house viewing. But then I need tips and tricks on avoiding scams, because I don't know, the agent asked me to wire the money for the whole year up front. I mean, like, she already showed us the unit. I mean, could it be a scam or?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
does anybody who's been to America know of anybody who requires a full year in advance?
No.
No.
No, so it is.
First of
it
all,
must
as
be a
soon as they
scam.
said the word wire, nobody in America uses the word wire. Okay, doesn't happen. I'm going to tell you that that's probably 99.999% a scam.
Thank
and
you.
on top of that, we don't really have many services quite like that. If you contact a service, I would say contact a service you find online, and that's a reputable business, reputable site with a site, a building somewhere. Okay? And going online, you should be able to find that. And there's even things called the Better Business Bureau that you can look up information on companies. And every area in America has a Better Business Bureau, BBB, that you can reference and probably get information as well.
Okay, so how will it work? I mean, like when we got there, and then how do the payment process will be?
It is different for every single contract you get. If you get an apartment building where there are dozens of apartments in it, they're going to have a pretty clear contract, and it's going to actually have rules and regulations in your area that govern exactly what that contract is supposed to say. They're going to have similar fees and pet deposits and things like this. And honestly, nowadays, they would prefer you to set up an automatic debit from a bank account somewhere. If matter of fact, if somebody doesn't suggest that, that might help you get a place if you offer that ability. You offer them a credit card that can do automatic, or a bank account that will automatically debit. That can help you. My daughter just did that. So with that in mind, yeah, avoid Craigslist. Craigslist is a great tool. But working from overseas, there's just no way you can really verify anything on it when you're talking to an individual in America. Once you're in America, you can have a little more control over that. So yeah, just be careful. Never accept anybody coming to you. I mean, here it's not uncommon for a taxi driver to come seek you out, and a guy trying to get you to buy something. In America, they don't do that. Okay, you're not ever going to have a guy come to you and say, "I got an apartment, it's yours." Unless it's at an actual function designed for that. So, yeah.
I will say, because there are a few people going to New York City, right? So, and a friend of mine just rented an apartment in New York City. And, you know, the process that he described was pretty unique to New York City. So everybody, everywhere else, usually you go out and you kind of look at an apartment, you go to them. But in New York, sometimes you get a broker. And this is basically a person who goes around with you and, you know, finds 2 or 3 properties, and then you might pay that person a percentage, or the apartment might pay them a percentage, or however they work it out. But at least it's an individual who you know, who you've probably met through the student association, and not the weird thing of wiring large amounts of money. So do just recognize if you're going to New York City, things, you know, what you read about a different city may not really apply in New York, but use local New York resources and your student network. So,
again, that web page, the Facebook account, just you can go on there and you can ask questions about what agents other people used. I'm actually I'm getting ready to leave Indonesia after 2 years, and I'm actually working with a real estate agent in Washington, D.C. right now to find a place. And I did exactly that. I went to a State Department webpage and I asked the question of who, and I had people send me names, people I knew and trusted. And I'm working with one of those agents now. And I just tell them what I want, how much money I want to spend, how big it is, what I want around it, and they do all the work for you. It's a service. You pay for it, but it's sometimes worth it.
I would just add, back to what Ellen said, maybe you want to go to Columbia University housing section and then see what resources are there available, because they've been pre-approved and verified by Columbia University, rather than going what a friend said, Facebook page, because it could get iffy. I know sometimes navigating university website, it's hassle, going to one by one. But if you go to the housing section, they should have information on-campus housing and off-campus housing. And you just need to dig a little bit deeper onto that. Other resources that may be helpful to you, International Student Office certainly will provide you that information. Your academic graduate secretary, or secretary may help you because you're a student in that department. So there are some resources you might want to try or inquire about.
I just want to just add on to that. Don't overwhelm yourself and try to do it on your own, because there are so many resources. There's like always like off-campus housing stands for people who need places to stay, because these universities have been open for so long. They know where students like to live, and they like to keep the same like areas like running for forever. So there's always places to stay. So don't freak out about it. It will come. Your time will come, and you just have to have patience and just do your research.
All right. Any other question? Yeah, we got two. We got Masa dulu yang di sebelah. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Tirta. I'll be going to NYU. I myself am trying to find a place in New York as well. And I see that there's some listings that they have credit score requirements. So my question is, how does it work for us, like international students? Because we have no like track record, right?
He's talking about a credit score, and this is actually tied to your social security number, believe it or not. In America, we have a thing called a credit score. America is home of the credit card and home of financing. So we finance everything, so they actually do it in such a degree that you get a score. It's based on how well you pay your bills. It's a big factor, actually. But in your case, what you're going to have to do is actually look at what the international option is for those places. Around universities, I think most of them will probably have it. You just have to present yourself as an international student. Sometimes I've heard them ask for police reports from your hometown, things like that. That's not actually practical here in Indonesia. So there's ways around it. Don't get too hung up on a credit score. Even if you got a social security number, your credit score would be 0. So don't just go out and get a credit card number trying to do that. So.
Oh, no, I never had that one.
I did. All right. Okay, so having immigrated from Canada to the U.S., right? So in America, we say you have good credit or you have bad credit. For you, you have no credit, right? There, you have no score, because a credit score is really a history of what you've bore out and how prompt you were with payments. And so talking with student organizations will tell you how to build a credit score. So typical things would be like getting something called a secured credit card. So a secured credit card would be where you give the credit card company $500 and you get your credit card limit of $500, right? And then after having that card for a few months, then you would be able to build a credit score. So to have a couple of credit cards like that can be helpful. Also, as your utilities, right, like water and electric and cell phone, these will all be reported to credit card agencies. So be on time and pay in full. And that way, after a year, you'll have begun to build a credit score. Some people may borrow to get a car loan, right? So car loans, often from the company selling the car, can be popular. And you know, because the car is collateral for the loan, then car companies are often willing to do that. So that would be another way to build a credit score. And having a good credit score can be a good thing because it follows you for a long period of time.
I think it goes to another question that we actually got a lot too. Is it, do we have as an international students to have a credit card? Anybody wants to?
Is it beneficial? Well, it depends, right? So some emergency situation, you may need it. So maybe not have too much of a credit limit. So it'd be like a 500, like a secured card just in cases. But financially, always use your debit card first, except maybe like you're using it for, you know, in not suspicious places or something like that. Sometimes credit card has better protection than a debit card because debit card will take your money immediately. So have like a secured card just for emergency cases. I think that is beneficial, yeah.
No, I don't think so. For me, I mean, debit card is enough.
Yeah, and I think what makes it interesting and how, slightly different than the debit card system in Indonesia, we don't really have that. It's not that yang bisa dipakai di debit card di sini tuh terbatas, is very limited on how you can use debit card here in Indonesia, but it's actually not so much in the US. Like in the US, you can almost buy anything with your debit card. Whereas here, we always have the mindset, oh, I need a credit card to buy an airline ticket or something like that, right? But it's not always the case in the US. So actually, credit card is not that necessary, but yeah.
Two places that credit cards are really helpful is if you travel. Because say you check into a hotel, and maybe the hotel is $65. It's not uncommon for the credit card, for the hotel to block like $200. That's enough for the hotel, but any meals that you might charge, right? And then if you only have in your debit card, $182 waiting for your paycheck tomorrow from your graduate teaching assistantship job, then it can be a problem. So credit cards can be very helpful for that reason. Gas purchases would be another one if you have a car, because at the gas pump where you pump your own gas, you will slide in a card and the gas pump will block typically $100. The gas pump doesn't know how big your car is, so they tend to block $100. And if you only have 90 available in your student account, then it will be a problem, right? But if you have a credit card, it blocks 100. You only pump $12, and then 2 or 3 days later, the block falls off. So.
And to be honest with you, it's very much like Indonesia. Some of us, the diplomats at the embassy, some of us have local credit cards, some don't. Benefit to having a local credit card, it's easier with Gojek. It's easier with the taxi because we can load the credit card online. We can't do that with our foreign credit cards. And my debit card works in the ATM here, whereas my credit card won't. So it's this is very similar. Just kind of you may have to put a little extra thought into your payments and how you do things. I'll never advocate for a young person to have a credit card because it's too easy to use and build debt. But at the same time, it has its benefits. So. Just think
Another
about
benefit would be if some of you may eventually immigrate to the U.S. for different reasons. So to have built a credit record for 2 or 3 years while you were a student, and then you immigrate to the U.S. with a big paying job and you want to get a house, well, that's something you need a credit record for. So that would be really helpful. Whereas if you didn't establish credit in the U.S. and then move to the U.S. and you want to get a house and you have no credit rating, you're going to be renting for a while.
Of course, you've got to use your visa wisely now because you won't get that future visa if you don't.
All right, so we actually have a question from Medan. We haven't heard from you guys for a while. So please ask away. Please state your name and where you're going to go.
Yeah. Gomal Saputra Siaan. I'm going to have my academic honeymoon in the University of Arizona.
All right.
Okay. It's a serious question. As far as I'm concerned, every state regulates gun control quite differently. And based on a website that I got here, in the state of Arizona, it is stated it is also legal according to Arizona gun laws to carry a gun openly. Do you think that also applies to international students? And I mean, no. No, maybe I framed the question quite. Maybe how do international students have a defense mechanism if unfortunately that happens, and if is it possible for international students to have one?
Did any of you carry guns, by the way? But before any
I
of
have
you
never
answer,
carried
I
a
do want to
gun.
point out that it is actually illegal in America to have a weapon on an educational campus.
Yeah.
Period, I believe, right now, and that's international, or federal law. So.
Yeah, I have never carried a gun on campus. Don't plan on
Don't
it.
do it. Don't do it, please.
Don't bring it. Yeah.
Definitely not.
So I have a law enforcement background, and I will tell you that it's different from state to state, but there are self-defense measures. There are pepper spray, there's mace, there's electrical things, and in some places, those are also illegal. okay? And sometimes they're legal to own and illegal to use. So it's really careful. In your case, wherever you're going, I recommend you talk to your school and just tell them that is a concern of yours, okay? Let me tell you, right now in America especially, safety in school is a big deal, and I guarantee you there is an office that will talk to you about this, okay? If it's a concern, please do.
Just to add, most United States is equipped with active shooter response, so a lot of, when there is guns at school, police will come just like that. So, and usually they'll come in force. I had an incident happen at Purdue. There was a gun shooting out in the engineering campus. And then right away when that happens, the teachers are trained to protect themselves and protect the students. And then all the electronics, like all these screens, will just turn to red and say active shooter situation happens, you know, get indoor and all this kind of thing. So, I mean, it's terrible, but they have emergency measures for, you know, those kind of situations for if it happens. So.
And I will tell you, I am a true red-blooded American. I own guns. I have guns. I do not carry them openly, although technically anywhere in America except for Washington, D.C., they can't truly block open carry, but some places have tried. But I'll tell you this, if you're interested in guns, in Arizona especially, there are some really, really, really good places you can go. You can rent guns, you can shoot guns, really big guns if you want, and you can have a blast doing it. And you can do it legally. You don't have to carry the gun. You have fun. They actually have them here in Jakarta, for that matter, if you want to do that. But yes, in Arizona, I have a few very big ones that you'd love. You can fire a machine gun even if you want one of them.
So I just wanted to let you know that when I drove into the United States from Canada with my I-20 form, which was stamped at the main crossing, one of the things the officer said was, "Now guns are doable." So it's probably doable. But the other couple of things that I would say is in the 25 years I lived in the US, and before that I lived in Canada where we hunt a lot, big furry animals. And so we have guns because that's how we eat in the place I lived, which was a rural place. You know, I'd never ever come across sort of a live kind of shooting situation within the vicinity of me. We hear about it on the news and one time on our campus, right? But you know, the chance that you would be involved as a victim in such an event is extremely small. So I just want to say that for everybody who might be worrying about their own safety. And then the second thing I would say about Tucson, because my sister lives in Phoenix, is there are parts of the U.S., like especially in the Southwest and the Western states, where, you know, there are cowboys, right? Like you see on TV with cowboy hats and, you know, cowboy boots, and, you know, they ride horses and wrangle cows, and they have handguns because, you know, there are rattlesnakes and other bad things out there. And then occasionally, cowboys like to go to the mall, so to buy shoe polish or to watch a good movie. So it could be that depending on where you're going, you might see people who have a very different lifestyle than many Americans do, and that might be quite jarring to you and take time to become accustomed to.
All right. Any other question from Medan, probably? Or let's go back here first. Yep, Mas.
Okay, thank you. My name is Wildan. I am Fulbright worthy, and I'm going to Purdue University. My question related to the housing. Some of us will apply for share housing, share apartment. What if we are already getting into the apartment or into the housing, our housemate, and we don't know who is our housemate will be, right? So what if we already get in, our housemate is actually too noisy, having too much party, or in a very extreme situation, how if our housemate bring his girlfriend into the room and and beating his girlfriend inside the room, and we heard that. So how if we, in those kind of situation, how we overcome that? Okay, that's my question. Thank you.
I guess if you have roommate issues, if you're living on campus, there's usually going to be an RA or like a hallway monitor, essentially. If you have any issues, you can always just go and talk to him or her, and you guys can just discuss your issues with your supervisor, and then they can like maybe switch rooms if you need, or switch him out of the room, and so. There are resources available. As far as apartments go, I don't live in an apartment, so I don't really know what you do. If you've had issues, I guess you should just talk it out with your roommate, make sure that everything's okay.
Well, the one example you gave of beating your girlfriend is actually illegal, so that's real simple. It's called 911. 911 is the emergency number in America. You call it, you report it, you're done.
Because I live off-campus housing when I first came to the United States. So I did a roommate agreement with my roommates. It states it's kind of a contract, like, hey, you're not supposed to do this and other stuff like that. But in a dorm, you have resident assistant. But if you're being matched by your apartment manager, definitely bring it up to the apartment manager. Hey, the roommate you chose from me, I don't really like it, and it may cause some issues. So there's somebody you can bring it up to. But if you are leasing your room on your own, definitely create some kind of a roommate or some contract agreement. So if things get heated up, you can always go back to it. Hey, you don't fulfill this and blah, blah, blah. I don't know if you can go to court for it. I'm not sure. It's America, you can.
Anybody wants to add anything else?
Well, yeah, I actually had the problem, and this almost the same when I was first time in the U.S. First we would do the roommates agreement, and also, actually there was, so we could talk to the arranger of the roommates also. That's that's the second one, if it cannot be solved. But usually the most, that is very black and white area, but typically the cultural difference, that is the main issue. If you came to be living with a roommate from different country. Usually if you are both international students, you won't do that, but probably cultural differences, that is the dispute, whatever, the class between you two. That's the thing that you need to work on together, I think. Yeah, I think that's probably the most likely issue that you're getting face when you are meeting international students at the same house. Yeah.
All right, and exactly 5:30. I love it for being on time. And we also already have a special guest to do a closing remark, but I would like to thank everyone who come out tonight for this event. For the great panelists, thank you guys so much. Please stay around because we're going to have dinner outside. So thank you guys so much. And we can go back to the stage so then I can invite the next special visit from the U.S. Ambassador to Indonesia. Please welcome Ambassador Joseph R. Donovan to the stage for the closing remark.
Hai, selamat malam dan selamat bulan Ramadan. Saya senang sekali bisa bersama Anda semua malam ini. Saya harap Anda mendapatkan banyak informasi berguna dari para anggota panel dari sesi siang tadi untuk membantu Anda mempersiapkan diri untuk langkah selanjutnya dalam perjalanan pendidikan Anda. And that's the best I can do in Bahasa Indonesia. First, I'd like to congratulate everyone who's here this evening who has already been accepted at a U.S. college and university. Selamat. You should be very proud of your hard work and your achievements. But guess what? It's only the beginning. I wish you all of the best. Your journey is just really starting. And I wish all of you all the best as you embark on what will be an exciting, life-changing journey. This journey will challenge you in ways and push you to do things and experience things that you would never have even imagined. It will be a journey that rewards you with new friends, new skills, and greater knowledge in your field of study. About the United States, you'll learn a lot, but you'll also learn a lot about yourselves and about Indonesia as well. Please, when you're in the United States, please, please, please help Americans learn about Indonesia. Also study hard, but don't forget, please, it's not only about studying. Enjoy the activities outside the classroom where you can really enhance your experience. What you don't want to do is, as you get ready to leave the United States and come back to Indonesia, be thinking to yourself, oh, I wish I had done this. I wish I had joined an organization. I wish I had traveled a little bit more around the United States. This is your chance. This is your opportunity. Please make the best of it. It's really fitting tonight, too, that we celebrate your upcoming journey together during Ramadan, a time when American and Indonesian Muslims build understanding through fasting, shared meals, family gathering, and storytelling. Those of you departing for the United States will have the chance to experience firsthand the diversity within the American Muslim community. You'll find that there are similarities with Indonesia, such as hosting Buka Puasa and reflecting on one's blessings while remembering those less fortunate than ourselves. These are core values and traditions that Americans and Indonesians share, which reflect our diversity and the respect that we have for pluralism. We celebrate these same values this year as we commemorate the 70th anniversary of bilateral relations between Indonesia and the United States. And in this year, we're highlighting the places, the stories, and the dreams that showcase America's broad partnership with Indonesia. And your stories will be an important part of that celebration. Now, for those of you who are still thinking about studying in the United States, please talk to those who are headed to the United States about their experience with the application process, and even more importantly, come to see our EducationUSA advisors here at AdAmerica. They're available every day, no appointment necessary, and best of all, it's free. That's right. Somebody has experience here. So on behalf of myself and all of my colleagues here tonight from the United States Embassy, we wish you a very peaceful and blessed Ramadan. Selamat berbuka puasa. Terima kasih banyak.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Donovan. If you don't mind to stay on the stage for a picture, if we can have the panelists to be on the stage for a photo session. Okay, so if we're going to also do a group picture with everyone, with ambassadors as well, with two sides of bleachers. For those of you who already got accepted, do you have your cap on? The one that you received, the black one. If you can wear it as part of, yes. And please come to the front And then we're going to do pictures with, yeah. Please wear the cap. So, yeah.
Baik, sekali lagi kami ucapkan terima kasih yang paling meriah khususnya untuk teman-teman yang sudah streaming online melalui website kita di www.atamerica.org.id. Sekali lagi kami ucapkan terima kasih dan selamat berbuka dalam sesaat lagi. Untuk teman-teman jangan kemana-mana karena kami masih ada undian travels ticket for accepted student and for regular guests. Don't go anywhere.